The Chamber of Commerce did not greet us with the best weather here in Portland today, but I think we are going to have a fantastic race. 1.97 miles is the layout of Portland International Raceway. What do you say we take a trip around this place and tell the fans what it's all about, Jamie?
Yeah, you see we're going to head down this really wide front stretch down into turn one. Really slow chicane. You're going to see guys use a ton of curb on the inside of turn one. Then it's about getting a good drive on the exit of 2 into 3, and it's a fairly slow section through 4, 5, 6, and then it sets up another, what I think is going to be a good passing zone into turn 7, Trevor.
Well, that might be the last passing zone for a minute here, Jamie, because after that, you've got the long straightaway down to turn 10, and that's a kind of a banana shape, people call it. It's not actually straight, and it looks like from the map turn 10 would be a prime passing zone, but all the drivers are talking about how narrow it is there and how sketchy it is to try to make a pass coming back around to turn 12 to get to the start finish line.
And everyone says you got to get a good run off of turn 12 because you want to maximize that speed down the front straightaway. We look at our starting lineup. We told you about Anthony Alfredo on the pole, front row with Austin Hill, row 2. Daniel Hemrick, a pair of runner-up finishes in his road course career. Sam Mayer on quite a run lately starts in row 2 as well. Trevor?
Yes, sir. In row 3, we've got Jay Buford making his next start in the 48. He's been out for a couple weeks, but coming back to his road course roots, and then Ty Gibbs beside him. Next up, we've got Sheldon Creed and Connor Mosack making his first Xfinity start here in the 18.
Hey, let's catch up. You see AJ Allmendinger right there in row 5. Let's see if we can catch up with him. Hey, AJ, it's Jamie Mack up in the FS1 booth. You got me? I guess we'll try again. Hey, AJ, it's Jamie Mack in the FS1 booth. You got me?
Oh, I got you, man.
All right. Yeah, it's good. It looks a little wet out there today. Tell us your plan. Like, how aggressive do you think you can be, knowing that these conditions, it's wet? Like, how much can you pressure it here at the beginning?
Pit road speed this time.
Well, Adam, we chose to talk to him at a really bad time right there as they're trying to get their pit road speed. All these guys coming down to see, make sure their tacks are set correctly.
So maybe we'll just walk through the rest of the starting lineup. And you might have noticed there are a host of drivers that are dropping to the rear today. And you know what all that does? It helps negate the number of cars that AJ's going to have to pass to get to the front. Really good for him, right?
I would think so. I mean, it's an easy pass, right? Everybody's dropping to the back. In that situation, I always think I want to be the first one to drop to the back. So if I get in line, maybe they'll line up behind me here, Jamie.
9 total drivers dropping to the rear for today's race. Let's get a final thought from our pit reporters. Before we go green, we start off with Josh Sims.
Well, guys, it's not often you have a guy making his Xfinity Series debut giving advice to other drivers about a race, but that's the case for Connor Mosack in the 18, who spent time after practice on Friday talking with his teammates Ty Gibbs and Brandon Jones, and that's because he is the most experienced of the JGR drivers here. He competes regularly in the Trans Am Series, where he has a ton of road experience. What's more, he practiced here just a couple weeks ago in a late model stock type car. He described it as in the rain. So he showed speed during practice, qualified 8th, and he says he feels completely comfortable here. So look out for Connor Mosack to be a player in his first Xfinity Series start, Jamie.
Another driver to look for to be a player would be Sam Mayer. Over the last 8 races of this season, he has the most top 5s with 7. He's tied for the most top 10s also with 7. And he's just really feeling that momentum. Now, what he does know about racing here at Portland is that he had speed both in the wet and in the dry conditions. He's lining up 4th to take the green flag today, but he says it's not about the other drivers. It's not about who's around you. He said from a driver's standpoint today, you have to race the racetrack, race the conditions, and not let anything else get in your head.
I think that's really good advice as you get set for this race, especially with all the elements these drivers are going to face. Let's look now at our onboard cameras. This is the Ford onboard camera. Ryan Seek qualified 27th. He will drop to the rear, however, to begin today's event. And we'll also go on board with Riley Herbst, the Circus Sports onboard camera. Riley qualifying 14th, driver out of Las Vegas, Nevada. And we're lined up and ready to go green as they make their way through turns 10, 11, and 12. Once they exit turn 12, the pace car will hit the pit lane, and the field will be controlled by our pole sitter, Anthony Alfredo, in the 23 for our Motorsports. The rain's not going away. It's going to be an entertaining afternoon in Portland. First time ever for the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Here we go in the Pacific Northwest. Look at Daniel Hemrick jumping out of line to the inside of pole sitter Anthony Alfredo.
Oh, and it looks like Alfredo actually locked up those front brakes and wasn't able to get turned. But you see, they did the penalty if you miss that chicane is to do a stop and go. So all those guys that missed that, they've got to do the stop and go right then and pay the penalty.
After all that, we stayed green, guys. I mean, we saw the one car of Sam Mayer turned around in the middle. We saw a couple guys off course there. Incredible start, though, by Daniel Hemrick to be able to jump out. And we know that turn one's going to be chaotic all day long, but that's something people are going to watch for this next restart for sure.
Now, it did appear that he did stop, talking about Anthony Alfredo, who clearly missed the turn one, but he came out the leader. That's something we're going to have to follow closely here if NASCAR gets involved with a ruling, and AJ's been off track already. As you see, he's on pit road.
Yeah, this was actually before they even came to the green. He got off, got into the grass, and you see that radiator got all plugged up, probably a little bit of mud in that as well in turn 11.
And it kicked grass up on the racetrack. So a tough start for AJ Allmendinger. He just made a pit stop, Josh.
Yeah, and coming in way sooner than he wanted to, but as you saw when he was on pit road, they were cleaning grass off the grill as he got into the grass on that first turn. So unfortunate start to the race for AJ Allmendinger, who was already having issues before this race after practice and qualifying, guys.
And he's about a half a lap in front of the leader, so he's not going to go a lap down here, certainly at a road course, but a tough start for him as he tries to regain all this track position. And now for the lead, here comes Sheldon Creed down the front straightaway.
Yeah, and you see they're trying to figure out where the grip is. You saw Sheldon Creed all the way on the inside. You see the car behind him, Ty Gibbs, all the way on the outside. Everybody's searching right now to find out where the grip is. We saw in practice Noah Gragson run all the way to the right side of the drag strip, coming down into turn one, get into a big puddle. They blew that off just before we went green here, so the puddles haven't formed there, but all these guys right now, Trevor, are just searching around trying to find where's the grip.
Yeah, they are, and you can tell, something you always fight for in the rain is grip, right? And so you want to run offline. You want to get the tires in fresh pavement that doesn't have oil and rubber and all these slick spots on it. So that's why you see them running an unconventional line off the normal racing groove. But you see Ty Gibbs kind of cheating that a little bit. He might find some middle ground there where you can run a lower arc, but maybe still have a little bit of grip on your outside tires.
Yeah, the one thing about this track, because we haven't had a lot of running in the dry, just very minimal in qualifying yesterday, is that a lot of rubber is not laid down. It's obviously rained quite a bit. They've run the air titans around. So if it's blown any of that rubber off down into the track or the oils, the grip, the preferred line might be the actual racing line. As you see Ty Gibbs, big braking zone there into turn 9, is able to clear Sheldon Creed.
Ooh, gutsy there. It looked like he got his right sides off in the grass, and to me, this early in the race, that's what you're trying to test. Like, in these braking zones, can I push it, or is it going to bite me? Am I going to get grass on my grill like we saw AJ Allmendinger do before the start of the race?
Ty Gibbs, a guy that we felt like could contend for the win today. He's out front, other end of the spectrum. More problems for AJ Allmendinger. This is turn 5.
Yeah, you see he drops the wheels off of the right side. That curb is pretty slick. Really tough start for AJ Allmendinger, who we, clearly even before we got here this weekend, thought he would be the favorite. You see Sheldon Creed gets into the outside or the inside of Ty Gibbs right there. That's in turn 1 into that chicane. It's such a hard corner because of the speed going into that, getting on the brakes. And these guys, they just don't know the limit to where the cars are right now.
And Jamie, I'm looking at some lap times here. They're running 20 seconds slower than what they qualified at. That's a huge adaptation, and even 10 seconds slower than what they did in practice in wet conditions. So this is some of the wettest conditions they've been on all week. Even though they've been battling this weather, this is the worst it's been, the slickest it's been.
Well, and the rich get richer, right? Because you got one of the fastest cars out front where visibility couldn't be better. And this is what Sheldon Creed tried to do in the Shelton chicane. Turn 1, turn 2, there was plenty of contact there.
It almost looked like he tried to gas up. He thought maybe Ty Gibbs was going to run a little wide there and tried to fill the hole, but then Ty cut back down on him. again, everybody just searching, trying to figure out where they need to be.
And that's one of those things in a slow speed corner when you try to set up your exit. You know, I think about even a track like Richmond and Oval where you want to back up your entry and get a good run off. It looked to me like Ty's trying to do that, but leaves the door open though for somebody to battle, jump in there.
I'll tell you where I don't want to be is in this thing, because that's called a gaggle, Adam, and that's not going to be good. All those cars run together. It's so hard to see. You can see we can't even see the car in the back of that group, but Noah Gragson making some pretty good progress. We know that he had to go to the back, already up to P20.
And look behind him, Jay Buford, who had a great qualifying effort, noted road racer, starts in the top 10. He's now outside the top 20. So two drivers that we felt like could make some noise today going in opposite directions.
You know, when I think about rain races, I think back to the Roval a few years ago, and it was just torrential downpour the whole race. And I know that A.J. Allmendinger won that, but Noah Gragson finished second that day. And I thought about him heading into this weekend, knowing that it could be wet. Noah's pretty fast in the rain, has been able to do that a few times, and has always been able to capitalize on it.
Another pretty good road racer, the 31 of Myatt Snyder. You know, he did the NASCAR Euro Series, and so he experienced road racing against some really good competitors. And there goes Justin Allgaier off track. Another driver that's been a successful road racer over the years in the Xfinity Series. Looks like that's turn 4, turn 5 area where he went off.
The fortunate thing for him is, as we're looking at the grill of the number 7 car, it doesn't appear that a lot of grass has covered that grill. That's the issue with running off in that area, is that if that grill gets plugged, you know that the engine's going to overheat.
I actually spoke to Justin about that after practice, and he said when he spun out in practice, he tried to get the car backwards, not to rip that splitter off. Now, I don't know if you can be that heads up and that good, Jamie, to actually spin the direction you want to, but he's told me he did it on purpose, and he wanted to get the splitter from ripping off or getting grasp on the grill. Right there, he just keeps spinning, though.
Yeah, and let's watch right here and see if his tires get on that outside curb, because that, yeah, if you look right there, the paint is so slick, and they repaint all these curbs before you come to the race so that they look good. The problem is that paint is extremely slick when it gets wet.
I'm wondering about the mental capacity of a race like this, because he had just come through the chicane, and we know how taxing that can be mentally, and then makes that simple mistake of just getting off onto the wet paint, as you said, and getting turned around. This race will challenge all these drivers all day long on the mental side of things. Let's get a report on Justin Allgaier and go down to Jamie.
I just wanted to confirm what you guys were talking about. He said to the team, I'm sorry I got on the paint, no harm, no foul. They told him, put your head down, stay focused. But look at the windshield wiper. You'll notice he's not using the wiper right now. If you look at a lot of the other cars out there, you'll see the wipers moving. Now, I talked to him about this, and think about, all the rain and what you would do to your street car. They put Rain-X on the windshield, but it's only on that first layer of the tear-off. So if you run your wiper this early in the race, all you're going to do is get all of everything smeared on top of that Rain-X. You're going to deteriorate it a little bit. You're going to have a dirty windshield. So Justin was explaining to me, you don't really want to use the wiper until they already pulled off that tear-off, and then you use the wiper as your only visibility helper out there in these conditions. But it's interesting to see some of the guys already having them going. But I tell you right now that the rain is picking up. It's raining much harder than what it was when the green flag came out.
That's some great stuff, Jamie. I got to tell you, as I've watched these races over the years, that windshield wiper is about as worthless as a bucket with a hole in it. Because by the end of the race, those things normally aren't even on the windshield. They've all been moved around, and they get down the straightaway, and it seems like it's not very efficient.
As the cars run here, I have to think the track is forming more of a groove, and maybe it's burning off a little bit of the moisture, or maybe some of the puddles. Their lap times are picking up pretty substantially here as we go, and I think that'll be a conversation. It's just this mist. It's kind of an annoying rain, but you may find this groove that starts to dry out as it builds some heat in it a little bit.
By the way, Justin Allgaier was 7th when he went off track. He's now being scored back outside the top 20, so he's another one of those drivers that we felt like could really get it done today, that's facing some early adversity. And here's the other thing to keep an eye on. With the clear track that Ty Gibbs has and the struggles for A.J. Allmendinger, it's not going to be long before he could maybe put A.J. a lap down here. There's A.J., you got Joe Graff Jr. in the 07, and here comes Ty Gibbs as they head toward turn 10.
Yeah, and if I'm a spotter around the racetrack, I'm going to tell my driver, what is Ty Gibbs doing in my area of the racetrack? Because he's run a second, almost 2 seconds a lap faster than what Sheldon Creed has. And I know that Allmendinger, we had him kind of picked as the favorite, but it's almost like we think they maybe had an engine issue, the engine, missing in qualifying. But right now, his car is not up to speed. He's seconds off the pace as he tries to stay on the lead lap.
Well, and I'll tell you what, Jamie, we talked about the rain line that we would traditionally see drivers move to, and I'm not seeing that from the fast guys right now. They're running a traditional line, and the cars we've seen issues of the experienced rain racers, A.J. Allmendinger, Justin Allgaier, people like that, are actually having issues and getting outside the groove and spinning out. So it's kind of a wild game to watch right now.
It's been quite a start in the rain, no question about it. 7 laps into this first 25-lap stint. Stage 1, Ty Gibbs in control. Creed, Hill, Moffitt, the top 4 were live in Portland on FS1. You're watching the NASCAR Xfinity Series from Portland, presented by Credible with Jamie McMurray, Trevor Bayne. I'm Adam Alexander, and this is the battle we anticipated we would see all day long. A.J. Allmendinger, Ty Gibbs. There's one caveat if you're just joining us. A.J. Allmendinger in danger of going a lap down. He's had a host of problems early in this race.
Yeah, he's been 3 seconds a lap off what Ty Gibbs has been able to run. As we see Noah Gragson right here in turn 4, just gets a little bit wide. Same thing similar to what we saw with Allgaier going off in that section. But it appears that so many cars have went off there in the last 2 days that all that grass is kind of gone and it's not getting stuck in their grills at this point. So no harm, no foul, just a little bit of time loss for Noah Gragson.
Well, he had come from the back to 14th, Gragson. Drops to 20th now, so he'll have to regain some of that position. The other thing I noticed, he didn't really get on the brakes when he got on the grass. It's kind of like driving on the ice, right? Don't hit the brakes because you're just going to slide.
Well, and not just the sliding factor. You want to make sure you don't put that splitter down into the grass. You stop like that, you know, the front end drops and you rip the nose off like he saw in practice. That's exactly what happened to Gragson in practice.
And AJ right here is hoping that he can force Ty Gibbs into a mistake. It appears that something is not right with AJ's car, just seeing how far he is off the pace. But we can see that line is starting to dry, and that makes it even harder for the car behind to be able to make that pass. But Ty Gibbs, aggressive, just like he was with Sheldon Creed, but this time he's on the inside of A.J. Allmendinger as they head down into turn 9.
Well, here's the other deal with this. He knows once he gets by A.J., he's going to be able to put these other guys a lap down, create a little buffer, and the more guys he can put a lap down, the better chance that AJ will not get the free pass. We know we're going to get a caution in 17 laps at the end of the stage. But if he can make him third or fourth in line in the lap down category, going to be very difficult for AJ to come back and be a part of this.
And what else plays into that is because of the way the rules are for this race, where these guys are all going to pit during the stages, you're just not going to have those waiver rounds like we would normally have and then come in and pit and do your fuel and tires. So this is a much different race, and we're going to try to walk you through as we get there. But AJ going a lap down right there, if some other cars get a lap down, he's going to be in trouble.
You know, and one thing about this track, we don't have a lot of runoff. There's a ton of grass right on the edge of this racing surface. And with all these cars going off track with the issues we saw at the beginning, we've not seen a caution. It's hard to believe at this point that we've been able to stay green, get every car back on the racetrack and rolling again. It's pretty incredible.
I will say, though, and we've had a lot of rain up here, so I think the incredible part of that is the fact that they haven't gotten stuck. But there is a lot of room to run off at this road course. So, and we've seen it. Once you get off, you're not into a barrier or a sand pit, right?
Yeah, the gravel traps are the killers, because you get in that and you get stuck, and they have to bring the tow truck out to. As you see another car. Oh, he was able to get slowed down right there and make that turn one.
He might have been faster to stop. Go straight and stop. Yeah. Gas it back up.
That was Spencer Pumpelly in the 08, noted road racer. Darren Dilley driving the 38, and he's a lap down. And driving by him, Connor Mosack. This is a really good story for Joe Gibbs Racing, 23 years old. Had never been in an Xfinity car until this weekend, but he has been consistent, fast in practice, good in qualifying, and paying it off in the race, currently riding 5th in the 18.
Well, and it's hard not to look at organizations right now. You look at RCR having a great run with both cars in the top 3, Sheldon Creed and Austin Hill, and then you look at Joe Gibbs with all 3 of their cars in the top 9. This is what they've needed to get going here after the run that JRM, Junior Motorsports, has had going. Everybody's talking about that in the garage. How are they so fast every week? And I know they were all looking forward to this road course as a reset button for them.
That 18 is strong today, Josh.
Yeah, it's strong today, and the big thing for Connor was the fact that he had experience here. He talked about the fact that he raced in a stock-type car here in the rain a couple weeks ago. That gave him a lot of insight just as to how to handle this track, and it helped him give some insight into Ty Gibbs and Brandon Jones as well. So while he doesn't have Xfinity Series experience, he does have experience in the rain at this track, and that is huge for him, and you're seeing it out there on the track right now, guys.
Yeah, I thought it was funny, the story you were telling us earlier today, Josh, is here's a guy making his first career start, but he was actually providing support and information to both Ty Gibbs and Brandon Jones, who have been doing this for a while. It speaks to the respect his teammates have for him despite the limited experience.
Well, and the craziest thing about his story is he started racing at 18. He's 23 now. When do you see a guy only race 5 years and make it to Xfinity and be this tough?
The thing that I've seen when you bring, I would consider him a ringer because he has a road course background. They're typically always fast when they come to these races, but when we get down to those last few restarts, they don't get the same respect that the series regulars get. And they normally get used up after they've had a pretty good day. And some of it is self-inflicted. Maybe they've, been on someone a little too hard early in the race. It's just really hard for those guys to put the whole race together at the end.
This is a great battle here. Second, third, and fourth. The 2 of Sheldon Creed, 21 of Austin Hill, his teammate. And then the 0-2 of Brett Moffitt. And this brings into winning today, gets you into the playoffs. We talked about Creed's situation, 59 below the cut line. And Brett Moffitt definitely would have to win a race if he's going to get in. And our motorsports making quite the statement this weekend. Alfredo on the pole yesterday, and Moffitt has been incredible in the first 15 laps or so.
There's no doubt about that. I mean, these are the races that the guys like Brett Moffitt dream about and hope for, because this is their shot. This is the wild card that they need to go out there and punch their ticket into the playoffs for sure.
And boy, has it been a wild card. I mean, a crazy start to this race in Portland. We knew with the weather forecast it could be like this, but we've seen some things we really didn't anticipate. Several cars off track, including some we thought could go out and get the win. There's Alfredo, Austin Hill, and Sam Mayer. it's Murphy's Law. You go to break, and the caution comes out.
So true.
Sam Mayer has been into something, and it's significant. You can see the damage on the front end of the one car. Driver that was trying to pick up his 8th top 5 finish in the last 9 races, and actually it had some speed. Did a pretty good job in qualifying, and you can see they're under the hood trying to assess where he's at damage-wise. His issues, though, really good news for A.J. Allmendinger, because he had gone a lap down, but he passed a bunch of drivers to get himself in the free pass spot. He will now, with this caution, get back on the lead lap. That's really big for A.J. Allmendinger. The 07 Joe Graff Jr., Brandon Jones in the 19 is spinning, and look up behind him. Yeah, looks like some guys are checking up, seeing Brandon Joe spinning, and maybe Sam gets into the back end of somebody. Yeah, there was Parker Chase coming through in the 26, Alex LeBay, so he definitely hit one of those guys.
Yeah, potentially not even off track. When we first saw the damage, I thought he sailed it off turn 4 like his teammates, but you're right.
Oh, and he's out of the car. Daggone it. What's up down there, Jamie?
Well, the crew you saw rush over to assess the damage. They looked up at the crew stand to Taylor Moyer and told him that we're done. We've had no oil pressure. Sam was on the radio. He said it's the stupidest thing I've ever done. So he's certainly taking the heat for this as he climbs back over the wall to go and talk to his team.
It's frustrating, but here's the deal. I know he hasn't won, but he comes into this race with an advantage over the cut line of nearly 150 points. And you want the track time, you want to continue the string of top 5 finishes, but the reality is he can stay in the game, and that's big for a young driver.
Yeah, and I mean, what's so frustrating for Sam Mayer is that he has a little bit of a road racing background. You know, he looks at road races as a place that he can capitalize, and especially having the momentum that he's had over the past month and a half, he looked at this as a track that he would be able to win at, and it didn't start off that well. He got spun in turn 1 on lap 1, and then, you know, has damage from something that really wasn't his fault.
This could turn out late in the race to be an enormous storyline, the fact that he's back on the lead lap.
This is what I came for, Adam. This is why I'm here today. I came because I want to see A.J. Allmendinger get this car together and be able to drive back to the front and contend with Ty Gibbs, who looks like he has the dominant car. And you cannot count him out right now. They obviously are not where they need to be, but his car was really good yesterday in similar conditions to this.
This whole time, Jamie, I thought you came to hang out with Adam and I. You came for the race.
I did. I like you guys as well, but I came to watch Allmendinger do his thing.
The truth eventually comes out with Jamie. You know, there's a handful of lap cars that are up here, but if you look at the top 10, it's pretty interesting, and not surprising that Ty Gibbs is leading. He's led in all 8 of his road course starts, by the way, in the Xfinity Series. We've talked about the guys from RCR, Sheldon Creed, and Austin Hiller, 2nd and 3rd, Brett Moffitt. But you look at some of these other stories in the top 10 right now. We mentioned Connor Mosack making his first ever start. Really good job out of the gates, driving the 18 for Joe Gibbs Racing. Behind him, Riley Herbst, who had been on a run of top 10s before problems last week at Charlotte. He's up in the 6th position. Daniel Hemrick, you know, he's our reigning champ, and someone that just has had not much luck at all. In fact, he was driving for Joe Gibbs Racing last year when he won the title, but he's off to a pretty good start in the 7th position. Jeb Burton's up there, Parker Chase, you got Alex LeBay. I mean, there are some really good stories when you look at the top 10 and the drivers that hold down those spots.
You know, as I look at this field, I see such a difference in upbringing. You look at Ty Gibbs and the way that Coy kind of developed him and put him through different types of racing. Jamie, you probably see it at the go-kart track every week when you go with your son. I think we're starting to see people realize the importance of road racing within the NASCAR schedule. You know, with as many races as we've added over the last few years, Ty Gibbs could be considered an expert road racer at some point with his experience. You throw in Connor Mosack, you know, trying to make it in NASCAR and going Trans Am racing to get there. It's kind of a weird dynamic to see how much road course racing is taking a precedence in our sport.
Well, and you look at the drivers that are having success in Cup right now. I mean, do it a different way, because it might pay off for you. Great crowd on hand in the rain at Portland.
Welcome back here to the Xfinity Series race in Portland, and it's been a rough afternoon for AJ Allmendinger. Many considered him the best in the field, but right off the bat, he's had troubles. Came on the radio, very frustrated. His crew chief told him, take a couple deep breaths. When you come in, we're going to get you 4 tires. We're going to help out, because he said he's sliding all over the place and has no grip. So they said, take a deep breath, AJ. We'll be fine. Plenty of race left as they continue to work on that 16.
And hey, by the way, these are the road crews that work on these cars that are doing the pit stops today. This is a standalone race. So the Cup guys that typically come in and service these cars not here today. And you notice Josh said they're putting on tires. They didn't fuel the car because you can only fuel today during the stage breaks. We'll talk more about that at the end of stage 1.
Well, and if you look right here, this is a huge issue, because the mist is one thing from the car in front of you, but this fog that develops on the inside of the windshield, there's really no good way for the driver to clean that off. You see, he has a contraption, is what we're going to refer to.
Is that what you're going to call that?
A contraption with a rag on one end, it's a stick. But when the car comes in and sits in the pit stall, all that heat rises, and obviously that creates some moisture on the inside of the windshield from the water on the outside, and that's frustrating because there's just no way to get that off when you're out on the track.
You really did want to be a meteorologist, didn't you? I mean, when you were talking rain,
and
I wasn't impressed.
Here's the thing: is the dew point high today, Adam? And so when the dew
is.
point's up, that typically creates more moisture on the inside of the windshields.
Do you measure that scientifically, or is that something that your hair is impacted by, and that's why you know?
I know dew point because of my hair. I know that you would know nothing about hair.
Absolutely not.
0.
Get us back to racing, please, Trevor.
I think we're going. We got the pace car lights off, so I'm ready to see some action here. You know, that first restart, that was pure chaos, right? We had 3 wide going into turn 1. Even once they got through 1 and 2, they were wrecking everywhere, so I'm really interested to watch what happens here.
Yeah, and your braking point for a regular lap is completely different than what you have on a restart. Now, Ty Gibbs is going to have to learn that all over. He's picked a mark out on the wall for a racing line, but you see how much slower they're going right here. You can drive in way deeper to turn 1 on a restart than you can on a typical line.
But what an advantage for the top 8. Look at the separation back there. Someone, has been off track or whatever. It might be Matt Jaskell in that orange car. And NASCAR's going to turn him loose here. That's surprising to me, because there was such a big gap that the top 8 had created. And here we go into turn 1. That's Austin Hill out of line.
Yeah, you see Hill get to the inside. It's a little bit easier to be the car behind, because you just wait for the one in front to brake and go just a little bit deeper. But Gibbs did a great job of being able to roll in there on his outside and be in the preferred position.
And he gave up that bottom, and that was a very, veteran or experienced move to give him that, knowing that turn 2 was going to bend back to the left, and he got himself in a good spot to get the lead back.
Austin Hill does jump up to the 2nd position. Moffitt stays 4th behind Sheldon Creed. Hemrick lost a couple of spots in that exchange, I believe.
Well, and the other thing that happens now is Austin Hill gets to gauge off of Ty Gibbs of, if he was 2 seconds a lap off, where am I losing that lap time at? Now that he's kind of close to Ty, he can figure that out. Is it on the braking zone? Is it on the exit of the corners? Is it down the backstretch? Where am I losing that time at? He's going to get a little bit of a better gauge.
Well, as I watch that 54 car, it's a little bit of everywhere. His braking zones look really good. His throttle application, this corner here is really fun to watch. You see all the cars get loose up off, and they're trying to judge how much forward drive they have. And that, to me, has been the spot that the 54 has pulled everybody, is getting onto this long straightaway. He's able to push that gas down a little bit quicker, a little bit harder than everybody else, and just creates a gap that they can't make up getting into the turn 10.
I mean, from 2nd on back, the racing is good, but Gibbs just, he checks out. That 54 is spectacular right now. Well, let's hear maybe from Sam Mayer, Jamie down on the pit lane.
Yes, we saw Sam exit this race. He has been cleared for medical. What role did the conditions play in the incident that happened out on the racetrack?
Yeah, I mean, just everyone spinning out, going off track. I mean, that's part of rain racing, but just can't see anything. Kind of took me by surprise how little visibility we had, and just ran in the back of someone without knowing that everyone was checking up for someone spinning out, but it's part of it. I mean, our accelerating Camaro was really, really fast. I mean, obviously we got spun on the initial start, so that kind of completely messed up our race, but it's part of it, part of rain racing. Obviously no one's been here before, so no one really knows when to check up for turn 1, so can't blame anyone for that, but obviously I expected it because how the ARC race went last year, so this track just kind of feeds into that, but I'm definitely ready to go home.
The rain is picking up at this point in time. What effect did that have on the racetrack once the green flag fell?
Yeah, I mean, I got used to the racetrack pretty quick. I definitely had a lot of speed right away. It's just you can't pass because if you're on the racing line or off the racing line, in this case, that's the only place where there's grip. So you can't really pass anywhere. That's why I just want to go home.
He said, guys, time to go home.
Yeah, and he gets 2 weeks off, and unfortunately all that momentum he had comes to a halt. He's got 2 weeks to think about this, but no doubt he'll be back at Nashville and ready to go.
It looks to me like the 7's starting to recover a little bit from his spin off track. He's back up to 12th behind Brandon Jones, who also had a spin earlier in the race. So, you know, typically you spin off, go off track, you're back to 25th, and it's a fight to get position back. But we're seeing some of these cars that have had adversity already recover early in the race.
And right behind him, Allgaier is his teammate Noah Gregson, who started in the back, drove to the top 15, went off track, and now has rallied again.
You know, one thing to look right here, off to the, well, we'll come back to that, Adam.
Was that a swing and a miss?
Let me go ahead and I'll lob that up there and not swing at it right now, okay?
Hey, and speaking of swings and misses, another spot lost here by Austin Hill. Brett Moffitt able to go by. The 0-2 really doing some positive things in this race today with 7 to go in the stage. Sheldon Creed, who was running second and in position to get a bunch of stage points, is now sitting idle in turn 4. Such a tough break.
And that is a really dangerous way to get back on. He's so fortunate that nobody ran into the back of him. He was trying to avoid getting any grass on his grill. But it's such a tough place backing into traffic, knowing those guys are all sliding out wide on the exit.
Man, it looks like he just got that left rear a little too wide, almost similar to Allgaier earlier, and spins it out, but slow speed enough that he didn't even really get off track too bad.
He's now 14th and racing here with Andy Lowley.
I'm surprised at some of the issues we've seen this early from some of these drivers. You know, I kind of expected them to work their way into it, and maybe it's just that line is so fine, Jamie. When they step over it, it's not forgiving. You can't correct it and lose some speed. They actually spin out.
Yeah, and if you look right here, this is the spotter stand on the entry to turn 1. It's on the inside of the corner, and if you watch these guys, they're having to look down the straightaway. It's so hard to spot. A trick you can do as a driver, if you're right behind somebody, is just pull out a line. You don't have to even get up beside them. You just pull out a line, and the spotter will stay looking, because he's not sure if you're all the way beside them or if you're behind them. So you can normally kind of catch someone off track. And as we've seen on these restarts, when we saw Austin Hill get to the inside of Ty Gibbs, that view coming on is really hard to oh, you see 2 cars off here, Noah Gregson and Brandon Jones. They serve their penalty, though, and are able to go on. I got to be honest, I don't know that it's not faster to just drive in there real quick, do the penalty, and take off.
Well, because you have so much more momentum coming through turn 3.
It actually, right there, Jamie, Gregson came in beside Allgaier and came out in front of him. So don't tell Wayne, don't tell the series director this, but I mean, that could be something you look at.
That might be officiated differently late in the race, because we saw it at the start. I mean, is there anything you can do there?
Well, and it's unique here because of it being wet. If it was a dry track and you could run the traditional line through turn 1 and carry the momentum, there'd be no doubt it's faster to stay on the track. The issue is they're having to slow down so much on the entry to that corner to then make turns 1 and 2 that it just seems better to go straight there.
And the reason you saw both cars simultaneously slide in is what you were talking about, visibility. You can't see, so you judge off the car in front of you a lot of times, and if he makes a mistake, you're going to follow the leader right into that corner because you can't see. They're looking at these banners to the right, the 600, 500, 400, looking for their braking marker, but you can't see that if you're right behind someone. You follow them, hope that they do the right thing and brake early enough, and Brandon didn't in that situation.
Well, and the lap time, you can make up a small amount of lap time in the braking zone, but the key is not locking up, because the extra 50 feet that you might drive in and braking, when you lock the brakes up, the car then it actually feels like it accelerates once you start sliding. So the key here is to lift a little early and be able to get off the brake pedal and roll around the corner and not ever have a lockup.
Noah Gregson is now top 10, in position to get stage points here after quite the start to the day. The man out front, Ty Gibbs, he leads with 5 to go in stage 1. Stop and go there for Justin Allgaier as he missed turn 1. And you saw that as we were coming back from break. So here we are, inside of 5 laps to go. Opening stage at Portland International Raceway with Trevor Bayne, Jamie McMurray. I'm Adam Alexander. It's been the Ty Gibbs show. He has dominated this race, leading 20 of our 21 laps after starting in the 6th position. A number of big-name drivers have been off track, including now Riley Herbst, who was running inside the top 10.
Yeah, I mean, we were just talking about how good Riley was doing, worked his way into the top 3, actually, and just passed for 3rd, and then he goes off track, and that's the common thread. You're pushing, and as soon as you step too far on this wet racetrack, there's no grace there. It's going to bite you.
Yeah, that whole turn 4 and 5, it seems like the majority of the cars, that's where they run off at. And the interesting thing about that part of the track is it's one of the slowest sections of the track, so I think you almost build up a little too much confidence knowing how slow you're going. But I heard a few of those guys talk about the track almost feels polished when it gets wet, and you can see where it's really shiny on the left there.
He hit that paint as well.
He just got on the curb again. They're going to have to stay off the curbs, and he probably didn't want to be on the curb. It was sliding out, but the curbs are just a guaranteed spin out.
The bad thing in the rain is when you start to spin out, you know it a long time before you're off in the grass, and it just keeps going, and you wonder if it's ever going to stop. You get to the grass, and it picks up more speed.
You see, looks like he's almost trying to get a little bit of a draft off of this car, and then he's going to pull out when he gets down to the braking zone, and you just wait for that guy to let off and hope you can go a half a car length farther. And he was actually able to get his car slowed down and not miss this chicane.
Riley had dropped back close to 20th. He passes Alfredo for 17th, and he can get a couple of more here before the stage is over, certainly.
You know, I was kind of surprised there. I expected Riley to short shift a little bit, Jamie. I don't know about you, but in these kind of conditions, when you have that much RPM and wheel spin on that slow speed of a corner, a lot of times I like to go ahead and grab another gear. If you're in first, go to second, and try to eliminate a little bit of that wheel spin.
Yeah, man, when you listen to the throttle input right there,
AJ
Allmendinger off again.
He had worked, he got the free pass, had worked his way up inside the top 20 after restarting back around 30th, and now off track one more time.
You've got to wonder what's wrong here, what's going on with the 16 car. It's very uncharacteristic for AJ to have these kind of issues, and I'm surprised by it for sure.
I think it's all our fault, because all we talked about all week long is...
You two sold that. I did not jump on that wagon, okay? Now,
Jamie, you were on the wagon.
You two were on the AJ wagon. I said there was a chance that some other guys could step up.
It's one just about everywhere we go when it comes to road racing. To put it in perspective, Charlotte Motor Speedway, 3 races on the oval, all of them outside the top 10, 3 races on the roval. He's won every time. I mean, the guy is just incredible in this format. Today, though, not his day. And as we go to 2 laps remaining in the stage, they've closed pit road, and Ty Gibbs continues just to drive around at his own pace. His advantage now, 17 seconds.
He just looks smooth, Adam. I mean, I've not seen him bobble yet, and I'm not saying it won't happen. You see the car sliding around some, but he just seems under control, and it's fast, and a lot of times that happens in road racing. You try to overachieve and you go slower, and it just seems like he's got his pace set. He's out there by himself. He's not having to outbrake anyone, and he just looks fast.
He's going to have to be careful right here. I know we're coming to one go on the stage, but you see all these cars in front of him. They're going to brake at a way different point than what Ty Gibbs is going to brake at. The other thing is, if they're trying to stay on the lead lap, they're going to push their car just a little bit harder, and he doesn't want one of those guys to run off and him become a victim of circumstances.
Did you see him drop his right sides off there in turn 12? It was almost like he got him over the paint and onto that little concrete patch that's on the inside of the curb and used that as grip. I saw some sparks come out from under the car, but he's really searching around for where that grip is and being aggressive with it.
I'm kind of surprised he's even put himself in. Well, I'm not surprised because it's Ty, okay?
Right.
Let me clarify. But there's no need. I mean, 1 lap to go on the stage. You lead by almost 20 seconds. Just ride.
Yeah,
right?
If I'm a spotter, crew chief of the 54 car, I'm just preaching patience right now. And you see right there, the 78, Josh Williams get loose underneath him. It's just going to take one of those instances to knock him off the track, and then he'll end up losing all of his track position.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to put full trust in the drivers around you, and that's no ill will to any of these guys, but most are just very inexperienced road racers, And in these conditions, certainly anything can happen.
Or their cars don't have the grip that your car has. I mean, we're coming to a track that nobody's raced at in the Xfinity Series. So setups, I mean, that was one of the questions coming into this week. How soft do you need to be versus how stiff? What's the tire fall off? And then you throw them out on the rain. And in AJ's defense, they could have a really stiff rear package. The car can be low grip. But for Ty and these guys, I know that they've been working hard at the simulator for the last 5 weeks on this track, and it's showing up today.
So it's the final lap, the opening stage. And Ty Gibbs has been in control the entire way. He's going to end up leading 24 of the 25 laps in this opening stint. Off of turn 12 and back to the green and white checkered flag. He's got 3 wins this year, and now he's got 3 stage victories. It's the second time he's won a stage on a road course in his career. Stage 1 to Ty Gibbs. And as he woes it down behind the lap car of Scott Heckert, we will pick up some of the other action way behind him as guys are racing for positions in this stage. Austin Hill comes home second. Connor Mosack with a really good start is third in stage 1. You got Hemrick there, Moffitt, Alex LeBay. Noah Gregson got back to 7th after starting in the back and also going off track. And the final driver to get a stage point, Justin Allgaier, with a nice rally late in the stage. He spent some time in the grass. He too is able to come back and get a point in the stage. He's only 19, but boy, the kid's got a lot of talent, and it was on full display today. Ty Gibbs shows the way in Portland. Tomorrow on FS1, for the first time, the NASCAR Cup Series heats up in St. Louis, where Larson, Elliott, and the best drivers in the world look to be the first to take home that checkered flag. Coverage begins 2 Eastern time on FS1 with race day. We're racing just outside the arch across the Mississippi in Illinois. 3:30 Eastern time tomorrow. Chase Briscoe won the pole earlier today. You saw it live on FS1. And I can't say enough about the fans in the Pacific Northwest who are braving the elements 2 days in a row.
It's unbelievable because when you saw the forecast, you knew it was going to rain today. All these fans came out. Look at that. Excited to be on TV. It's so cool to see all of them there. Dances like you.
Pacific Northwest here, Jamie. I mean, they had to know it's going to rain. This is a sunny day for them.
156 days a year they get rain in Portland, Oregon. Here are your results from stage 1. And a couple of names we need to point out. I mean, certainly Brett Moffitt, who got a top 5. Alex LeBay, noted road racer. We mentioned the comeback for Noah. Landon Castle, who could use some stage points, got it done. Brandon Jones, Justin Allgaier, both spending time in the grass, both able to pick up some stage points in that first 25-lap run. In our format, a little bit different. We mentioned earlier that we didn't have the traditional over-the-wall pit crews here this weekend. And so what NASCAR has done, as soon as we wrap the stage, caution comes out, you freeze the field. And the stage breaks is the only time you can fuel the car. It's a 3-minute break. They come down pit road. You can't do anything to your car until everyone is stopped. NASCAR gives the go-ahead, and then that's when you can begin the service of tires and fuel.
And so if I'm anybody but the 54 car, I love this procedure because it allows me to work on my car. These guys can pull spring rubbers out. They can adjust on the shocks. They can adjust the track bar. They can adjust a lot of things, and they can take their time doing it. And that's so much different than when you have a live pit stop. And a lot of times the crew chief will tell you, hey, we want to do this, but we can't give up the track position. And in a scenario like this, you have so much more time to work on your car. These guys might be able to make their car just a little bit better to compete with Ty Gibbs.
I will say, though, the one thing where this will favor a guy like Ty Gibbs is this, in many ways, takes the strategy element out of a road course race. And I'm not saying he's going to win today, but he's been the dominant car. And typically what gets a guy like that beat on a day like today is strategy. That probably doesn't come into play in this race.
No, you're exactly right. I mean, a lot of times people short pit, right? At the end of that stage, if you're dominant, you want to go ahead and come down. And if you're not worried about stage points like Ty, he had won races already. He would have come down, gotten tires and fuel, and then not had to pit under this caution. But now we see people run to the end of the stage break. They come in, do their service that you were talking about. I don't know what adjustments you make if you're Ty Gibbs, so that's the only bad thing. You can get behind here by not adjusting if you're that good.
The other thing I like about, from a driver's perspective of being able to sit there, is that they're going to have 3 minutes. You can clean my windshield and really get the inside, try to get it dried off, get the outside cleaned off, and make it to where I can see, because that's going to be the #1 complaint from all these drivers is just visibility.
This is going to be like cleaning the kitchen after my kids. It's just going to be a disaster again as soon as you clean it, though, because you're sitting there and there's no airflow. So you talked about it earlier, the steam that kind of rises there. I always like to have a fan up in the front to kind of circulate that air, because that heat's just stagnant. There's no airflow, nothing moving, so it could get worse.
I mentioned you freeze the field at caution, and everybody maintains their running position once they exit the pit lane and we return to the green flag. So no positions gained or lost here unless you would have some kind of a penalty, and there are a few things that could go wrong, and the main one is just either starting work on your car before the 3-minute clock begins or working on it past that 3-minute allotted time. Mason Philippi, driving for Mario Gosselin this weekend, is the last car in place, and now they've given the go-ahead, and here come the crews to put tires on and fuel all of these NASCAR Xfinity Series vehicles. All right, Josh, they're hard at work.
Yeah, they are hard at work, and let's start with the 54 of Ty Gibbs, your stage 1 winner. Happy with that car, so he's getting fuel and he's getting tires, but he was pretty good in stage 1. Came over, said, I'm pretty happy, and with good reason. Let's move on to Daniel Hemrick in the 11. He said he needs a little minor adjustment. He was top 5 in that first stage. They're going to get tires and fuel as well. And the 18 of Connor Mosack said he's dealing with some fog issues, that windshield fogging up just a little bit, so that's the biggest concern for the 18 right now, Jamie.
Moving up to the number 21 of Austin Hill. He started this race in that second position, really stayed in the top 3 most of the first stage. And what he was telling the team over the radio was where he can make some improvements, where he can really pick up the pace is just in the driving. He said he was holding back at the brake markers because he didn't really know where they were when the rain was falling hard. It stopped at this point in time. So he's just got to wrap his head around the weather. He doesn't really want any adjustments. But one of the things to think about for the next stage break, one of the conversations that they're having, is about the tire world. Do they need need to take tires at the next stage break. They're going to take a good look at the set that comes off of the car after this first stage. Then they'll make that evaluation. Why would they do that when they have to sit here for 3 minutes? Well, because they know that the cars perform better with the warmer tires at the higher pressures in the wet conditions. So they're going to take a look at that. I want to also move up to the number 02 of Brett Moffitt. He made some big gains during that first stage, and the biggest thing that he needs at this point in the race is just some visibility issue that he's having. They're going to get in there. You see cleaning out the driver's side. He said, I don't care about the passenger side of the race car. I need to be able to see what's ahead of me, and that's where he was really struggling in this first stage. Josh.
Let's talk about the 36 of Alex Labay. He's been really happy with what he's been able to do. No surprise for him that he's in the top 10. During practice yesterday, he wasn't able to run that many laps because of an issue. Just ran one lap, but he said he was strong and fast in that one lap, especially in the rain. So he's a strong road course racer. He's got that in his background as they continue to work on that car, working on the windshield right now. But otherwise, he's happy where he's at, guys.
Well, Noah Gragson is another one that we've been watching. We talked about the accident that he had in practice, had to bring out this backup car. There were a couple of unknowns with the rain because when he went out for qualifying, it was dry. So this particular car hadn't seen the wet conditions yet, but they decided not to make any changes. They were really happy with the way that the car was balanced in the rain. They didn't want to change anything, but what they did do is peel off that first tear off. We talked about this earlier. The rain exits on the outside of the windshield. Once you remove that tear off, it's gone. But with this 3-minute break, they decided that they go ahead and put a fresh coat on there. So he doesn't want to use the wiper, as you guys talked about in the booth. It really doesn't do a whole lot of good with the rains flying, with the rooster tails. The engines are fired. Our 3 minutes is about up. But everybody's pretty happy over at the 9.
Jamie and Josh, thank you all for all the coverage down there. That's a lot going on, a lot of time to take up. But one of the interesting things that Jamie just said is the 9 car did not make any adjustments. And then as we watched the 54, they had the wedge wrench in the left side of that window, putting rounds into the left rear. So Ty's still working on his car, even out front with a 15-second lead. And you've got Noah back here in 9th or 10th. It's 2 different takes, 2 different strategies. Sometimes as a leader, you can work yourself out of that box that you were operating in, though, so you got to be careful there.
Well, they have not told Noah the lap times that Ty Gibbs has been running, or he'd be saying, we got to change something to get this thing faster. But we'll have to wait and see once the track position works out. Gragson's going to be a little higher on this restart, and we'll see what they have. They're going to have to get Ty on the restart, I think, Adam.
No doubt about it. That's the opportunity, and we'll have the restart for you for stage 2 when we come back. we've been celebrating the fans, but you have to be prepared if you're going to watch a race in the rain. And we've got a nice mix here. We got the old clear poncho that you probably got at the corner store this morning. And then these other fellas, they are all decked out with the rain gear.
Well, that was the model for the Gordon's fish sticks right there, Adam.
Look it up if you haven't already. It's pretty good.
And Google being lit up with searches as we speak. You do that 3-minute break, and everybody has a chance to cycle where they need to go, and there's really no positions changing hands, right? So we're already one to go to get stage 2 underway. I kind of like that.
I do too, and the main reason why is because I can see again. You know, you saw all those drivers getting the inside of the windshields clean, saw a tear off get pulled off, and I'm telling you from a driver's perspective, when they pull that filthy tear off, it's new life for every driver.
I go back to that last restart, and Austin Hill, you know, tried to jump he was restarting third behind Ty Gibbs, and he tries to jump down to the inside. Gibbs managed it just fine. Here, Austin Hill going to restart beside him. Totally different thought process. And, you know, if you're Ty Gibbs, you probably don't want a lot of restarts because you don't want to continue to show your hand on how you're going to handle, you know, that front stretch chicane.
Well, and the other thing, they just sat there for 3 minutes and got to think about where they were going to restart. The pit cycle did not change any of this track position, so Austin Hill's been sitting there thinking about his attack. Connor Mosack, I don't really see him dive bombing here on this start because it is his teammate in front of him, but Daniel Hemrick tried to make it 3 wide on the first start, tried to get to the lead. You know, I think these guys in row 2, 3 have really been thinking about what they're going to do here.
But because Ty Gibbs was first on the last restart, he picked a braking point out. He's now going to drive in just a little bit deeper because he knew that Austin Hill got to his inside. I'm a little shocked how far down this front stretch that we see the restart zone. It's a lot further down than I thought it was going to be. And to me, they just don't have the speed. But Ty Gibbs has a braking point picked out. He's going to go just a little bit deeper right now.
Ty Gibbs led all but 1 lap in the opening stage. He restarts inside row 1, the control car. Stage 2 underway at Portland.
Good restart by Ty there. He got a good jump, kind of a clean entry.
And his teammate right behind him, Mosack, not playing any games. Brett Moffitt also in that inside lane, staying clean. Same for the night of Noah Gregson.
Fairly uneventful there, guys. That was pretty clean.
And just as we say that, someone goes around.
I believe that might have been Riley Herbst getting turned. It was.
And then he got hammered, spinning again.
Big hit there.
A lot of contact.
It looks like Ryan Vargas actually got into Riley Herbst right there. The track gets so narrow when you come out of turn 3. It's like 65 feet wide on the front stretch. You get to this little area of the track, it starts narrowing down. It's only around 30 foot wide, so one of the narrowest road courses that we run on.
Yeah, you mentioned Ryan Vargas was there. Greg Gaulding also got a big piece of the action. Looked like Matt Jaskell might have been pulled off in the 13, so 4 or 5 cars that got a little bit of this one, the restart to begin the second stage, and we've now got our 3rd caution of the afternoon.
It's amazing the damage on these cars as we talk about how slow that section of the track is, but a lot of damage to all these cars involved.
Well, there's no time to slow down. You hit the brakes in the rain, and that thing, like we said, it picks up speed.
Yeah, that's right.
We got to tell this story. Darren Dilley making his first ever start in the Xfinity Series. He's from Oregon, SCCA veteran. He's a PE teacher. That's what he does during the week. But he found out about this opportunity, jumps in this second car for RSS Racing. Obviously, the day didn't go like he wanted it to. But just the experience for a 55-year-old who is used to influencing the youth of America. Awesome.
Well, he instantly became the coolest teacher in the building.
The coolest
today.
gym coach of all time.
For sure.
Right there. Absolutely.
Now, I said, if you added a rope climb to the end of qualifying, he might have been on the pole for this race. Only the second start of the year for Greg Gaulding, and we go back and see what happened. It all starts with Riley Herbst.
Sheldon Creed looks like he got a little loose off the corner and just kind of hooks the 98 in the right rear right in front of the field.
Yeah, and if you look at this, the visibility is about 0. All you can really see are the blinking lights, and that's why NASCAR has added those to the cars. Riley Herbst being in a black car, worst color you could be in today because you just can't see anything if you're the driver's behind.
And once he was turned sideways, there was no red light to even see for Riley Herbst, or for the 6 car there of Greg Gaulding when he was looking ahead.
let's just ride here and feel the impact, because he got popped hard by Greg Gaulding.
You hear him just trying ever so much to get the throttle put down to first gear, shift into second, gets turned as soon as he's getting ready to shift right there. And Riley's just along for the ride right now, hoping that he's not going to get hit. You see Greg Gaulding come in and just clobber him.
Yeah, never saw it coming. You see his eyebrows go up when he gets hooked there.
Yeah, and you see he gets spun out here. I bet he's going to look up in the mirror to see.
Ooh, big hit.
Man, that was a big hit right there.
You know, you think about his story, and the one thing he had been preaching about his season is we need consistency, something they felt like that they lacked a year ago, and they had developed that. 6 consecutive top 10s. He has an issue last week at Charlotte. The streak comes to an end, and a number of problems. A couple of issues here today.
Well, and in his defense, he had gotten up into the top 3, and we've seen 75% of the field off in the grass already today, so he was recovering, racing his way back up towards the top 10, and in that instance for Riley, again, I think he's just along from the ride from the start of it.
You know, Sheldon Creed, you see on the graphic here, is where that began when he and Riley got together. Sheldon actually has Casgrala in Portland as a potential backup driver because his wife Cammie is expecting their first child any time now. And so obviously no baby yet. Sheldon is in the car and going to be able to run the race today, but we send him well wishes. And I know you can't necessarily time these things right, but 2 off weeks coming, so that's a really good thing for the Creed family.
Any parent that has been through that, the stress of thinking that you might not get to be there for that day, and I'm sure when he looked at the schedule and saw that they had to go all the way to Portland, Oregon on this weekend, he's going to look forward to getting home and getting to be a part of one of the coolest moments you can have as a parent.
Well, I can promise as soon as they got that due date, they went to the calendar and looked at it. They were like, when is this fall? Where am I going to be? And he saw those 2 off weeks. He said, nailed it.
Early stages of our second stint of the race. Stage number 2 at Portland, and we're under caution for a 3rd time. Riley Herbst with a big hit. Yeah, I thought about that. Tonight, it's Baseball Night in America on Fox. Catch the 1-2 punch of Trout and Ohtani as they take on Harper and the Phillies, or the Cardinals battle the Cubs. It all begins tonight, 7 Eastern on Fox. Check for the game in your area. You can also watch it on the Fox Sports app. You know, I mentioned that the Xfinity Series is getting set for a 2-week break coming up. Racing in Portland today. We get the 2-week break, and then it's kind of the run to the playoffs. Not a lot of opportunities to step aside after they go away the next 2 weeks. We go to Nashville, and then the run is on. You're actually driving at Nashville, Trevor.
I'm really looking forward to Nashville, and then up there at the Northeast, we go to New Hampshire. I'm in that one as well, so I'm excited for this upcoming schedule.
We should have put a special graphic on all the races you're running. We wrap once again the regular season in Bristol, Tennessee. I love that as a regular season finale.
I love Bristol too. I think you're going to be a fan of Tennessee here soon. Your daughter's coming to town, right?
Yes.
To go to school there, so you could be a local with me.
Hey, can I use your address for in-state tuition? How do you feel about that?
I don't know how that works, Adam. Definitely not live on air.
Yeah, we'll negotiate that deal later. So, hey, we're getting ready for the restart. They've cleaned things up down there, and I would anticipate we'll get the 1 to go when we get back around to turn 7. And as we await the restart, we go back to pit road and hear from Jamie Howell.
Well, I've been listening to the scanners and listening to Austin Hill. One of the things he's saying is that there's not a lot of grip out there. The rain has really stopped falling at this point in the race. The jet dryers have been going, so the track is starting to dry out a little bit. He's complaining, Andy Street, about having no grip. He said with the new tires, the cold tires, he can't get any heat in them. What do you do at the next stage to fix it?
Only thing I know to do right now is to adjust on some tire pressure and maybe do a little chassis adjustment for him to help him build a little heat. Mother Nature's done a good job of keeping the tires cool today, so hopefully it looks like it's lightening up a little bit, so hopefully we'll get some heat in our tires here.
All right, thank you. Josh?
Here with Jason Ratcliffe, and Connor's running great out there right now. Track is drying out. At what point do you consider switching the tires to the slicks, and what's the biggest concern for you guys right now?
Well, we've been talking about that very thing right now. I think it'll take a while to dry out. Yesterday in practice, it stopped raining similar to this, and we were able to still run, 12, 15 laps. But if it happens, man, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a tough call for a lot of crew chiefs here. I kind of hope it does. It put a little more excitement into it. I'm not sure about these guys doing pit stops today, but it might be entertaining as well.
Appreciate your time and good luck the rest of the way, Jason. Guys.
So if we just go back to the Andy Street interview, he's like, what can we do to the tires? If you put a little more air pressure in the tires, they will build heat just a little bit quicker. The downside is, as this track dries out, you're going to want less and less air pressure because of all the heat that it's going to build up. The other thing that I know, based on the Xfinity races that I have watched in the rain, you do not want to be the first guy to put slicks on, because the caution will come out from the first guy that put the slicks on, because it is so hard to drive if you hit a wet spot on the racetrack.
Well, and the other thing is, as this does dry out, it changes your air pressure strategy, and we heard him talk about that. When it's really wet, when you've got puddles, to get grip, you actually do the opposite of what your brain would think. You put air in to try to expand the tread, to try to tread that water out of the tire. As it does dry out, you have to readjust that and try to get the air pressure right for the contact patch.
The 1 to go has been given, so we're all sized up for the restart here. Front row, Gibbs and Hill. Mosack, Hemrick in row 2. Moffitt, Gregson in row 3. And I can't say enough about Noah Gregson. If you weren't with us from the beginning, he crashed his primary car really early in practice yesterday. They go to a backup. He did get some laps in qualifying, and we knew the car had speed, but he starts at the rear today, is really fast, drives into the top 15, gets off track, but comes back for a top 10 in stage 1 and has gained some track position since then. I mean, restarting on row 3, he's got a real opportunity to get himself right back into contention.
Oh, I mean, there's no doubt about it. And I want to see Noah Gregson line up third where Connor Mosack is right now, because we know that he'll get aggressive and try to get to the inside of Ty Gibbs.
You still see Austin Hill all the way to the restart zone trying to get that heat in that he's talking about.
We complete lap number 6 in stage 2 as we return to the green flag in Portland.
Brandon Jones jumping out of line.
And this time, Connor,
whoa,
a teammate.
Did not expect to see that.
But once again, Gibbs doesn't push the panic button, seems to handle it quite nicely as they come through the chicane clean and head to turn 4.
Well, you see Connor having to protect a little bit for Austin Hill there, looking to the inside. That was a gutsy move into turn 1 there, Jamie, for a first time.
He was pretty calm the last restart, but he obviously felt like maybe Ty lifted a little early, and he knew that his car, he could keep it under control, braking just a little bit deeper. He's in full defense mode right now with Austin Hill behind him. But as the track dries out, I know that Trevor and I talked about it a little bit earlier, you're going to run offline when the track is fully wet because of the rubber and the oil that's in the preferred lane. You see Andy Lally there jumping to the inside. But as this track dries out, all you're looking for is the dry area of the racetrack. There'll be so much more grip. As you can kind of see it there on the left-hand side of the screen. You can see it puddled up. Where the cars are running, though, it's a little bit of like a flatter, matte finish, and that's just the track drying out.
We did get word Greg Galding released from the care center after that hard hit with Riley Herbst, so we're glad about that as we continue to watch, Ty pull away, and that battle for second is great. And here's Brett Moffitt just sitting right where he needs to make a move. If the 18 of Mosack, the 21 of Hill were to get together. Brandon Jones, nice recovery from an early spin. And you mentioned Andy Lally now in the top 10. Noted road racer, we don't see him all the time, but when he comes and races in the Xfinity Series, he typically has a very nice finish. And look at Austin Hill. He's going to miss turn 1. Got to do the stop and go here.
Whoa, that was a long stop.
He made sure that he was stopped, yeah, without a doubt. I'm wondering if maybe the drivers didn't get a little bit of a warning from what we saw earlier where they were almost gaining a little bit of track position.
And to be honest, I was surprised to see Austin make that mistake. I was looking for Connor to do that when he was under pressure from Austin to push it just a little too far.
Oh, big lockup right there from Jeremy Clements. You saw him drive in deep on the car in front of him. Got that locked up. He's probably going to have to pit because of the grass that we see on the grill right there.
And, he had just worked his way back into the top 10. Then Clements goes off the track in turn 4. Jamie, what do you have for us?
You see Andy Lally, you talked about him being one of the road course specialists, and he had a horrible qualifying session. I asked him why, what happened, and he said it was really all his fault. He went out to the racetrack to take a look at it on foot between practice and qualifying, told himself, these are going to be my brake markers. This is where I'm going to do it. Got behind the wheel of the car, hit those markers, but was way off on where he should have been. So he's had to make up for it. He said in order to get to this point that he's in right now, he's going to have to be patient. That's what he's been doing through the first stage to this point right now. Just a lot of patience, not letting anybody force him into mistakes, but then a whole lot of luck also. The team made a lot of adjustments to this car. He worked with them, worked through all of those adjustments, what they need for the wet weather on a road course. And they've really been working together to get up into the top 10.
Battle for second here.
Brett Moffitt's putting some pressure on. He's going to try to make the same move that Austin Hill attempted the last lap when he slid off.
Connor got just a little bit defensive. You saw him running a little bit wide. He was trying to make sure he stayed in that preferred groove of the racetrack, and Brett Moffitt conceded that corner to him right there.
How much of the moves that we see on a restart like the one we just had, and that move right there by Brett Moffitt, how much of that is just getting a feel for where you are and educating yourself on what maybe you can do later in the race or on a lap or two from now?
Well, I talked about it a little bit earlier. We talked about Connor Mosack, about always being fast, but sometimes people not giving you the respect. I can tell you the way that he's racing right now, Brett Moffitt's going to run out of patience, and it's going to move him in a second. It's cost Brett a position now, as you see Hemrick getting by. Connor drove a little bit defensively, and then that's okay, but you just have to know that these guys race together every week, and you're kind of an outsider, and they're going to be a little more aggressive with you.
Well, and it's not just the respect level, it is the aggression level. I think in NASCAR, when you get to a road course, and especially in the Xfinity Series, the level of aggression is pretty high in this series. When you race in Trans Am or some other sports cars where the officiating's a little different if you touch, it's not that way in NASCAR. People put a fender on you and move you out of the way a little bit.
I don't want in any way to take away credit from the advantage that Gibbs has built up, which is like 7 seconds. But the reality is he's driving by himself, and these guys have been racing pretty hard behind him. I wonder if he's not pacing himself a little bit early in this second stage.
You would definitely think so at this point. If you've got this much of a lead in adverse conditions like we see here, you're going to take care of the car and try to just match the times of the car behind you, and if you need to pick it up a little bit, then you do.
Noah Gragson working on Connor Mosack. Brett Moffitt just in front of him. I mean, we know, and you've said it a couple of times, Jamie, we know that 9 is going to be aggressive. And you think about how patient Brett Moffitt was with Connor Mosack, that will not be the case, I don't believe, from Noah Gregson.
Noah probably won't be quite as patient, and also knowing what happened just the lap or two before this. He saw that. He was behind it. He can see the 18 blocking just a little bit, and that's okay. If you have one bad corner, it's okay to block the next one or two to try to get your position back. But it just looks to me like the 18, whatever adjustments they made during that pit stop, the 18 car isn't near as good as it was in the first stage. Jamie, you got something down there?
Well, remember, the number 9 didn't make any adjustments. That's Noah Gregson. All they did was put on a fresh set of Goodyear tires and give him a fresh windshield. He's still happy with the race car. What he did learn through the qualifying session and the practice session is that there's very little room for error around this racetrack. He doesn't have the same experience here that Connor in front of him has, but he does know where you can get into some trouble. And he said, if I can keep the car clean, if I can stay off of the grass, he can easily have a top 5 finish. You see him moved up 22 places since the green flag fell at the start of this race, all the way up into the top 5 right now.
That line that we just saw Noah run through turn 10 and 11, the only other car I've seen use that much curb and be that aggressive is the 54 of Ty Gibbs. We were talking about it in the first stage. It's almost like he's found some grip to almost high side the car on the curb. He's using that concrete on the other side of the curb as grip, and it really straightens out that section from 10 to 11. Noah Gregson's found that now, and it'll be interesting to see how much he uses it.
Let's go back and tell the Noah story from this weekend. We've talked about it yesterday practice. Spins out, no harm, no foul here. But watch this, just past the start-finish line, it gets squirrely, he loses it, into the grass, into the wall, and then there. I mean, when those front tires lifted off the ground, rips the splitter off, you know it's a backup car.
Yeah, and Noah didn't do anything wrong there other than just run on the wrong part of the racetrack, but it's a new track. We weren't sure where you need to run at. We saw him all the way to the right-hand side of the drag strip. There was a couple of puddles. He just started hydroplaning and lost control and was just along for the ride at the end. If you take a look at the car right behind Noah Gregson right now, that's Brandon Jones. We talked about the 18 car of Connor Mosack maybe making the wrong adjustment. The 19 car has come to life. He's quite a bit quicker than he was in the first stage.
And what a day for Joe Gibbs Racing. I mean, we've talked about Ty Gibbs, Connor Mosack, but Brandon Jones, all 3 of those Toyotas in the top 6 now. So a really good effort for the coach's kids.
You know why? Because all those other guys were like, just put in my car what Ty has. That's what I'll take for the rest of the day.
Trevor, who's driving that 18 part-time, he's hating the fact that he's sitting here.
Yeah, that's right.
He wants to be racing
These
this afternoon.
cars, man, they're so good on the brakes. They're so good on acceleration. We saw it at the short tracks this year. They've just got it figured out for Ford Drive, and I really think that's where Ty is beating him out today. You're not really maxing out the braking zones the way you would in a typical road course race. You're kind of sliding around, but on acceleration, we watch it when he comes out of turn 7 there, and he's able to get to the gas through turn 8 and carry that speed right here. He's just able to push it down. The car doesn't bobble. It's almost looks like he's in the dry sometimes.
As we watch Ty Gibbs right here, if you're at home and you're asking yourself, like, how do you practice? How do you practice for, being in the rain? NASCAR doesn't race in the rain every weekend, and obviously these teams can't test as Alex LeMay's trying to get back on the track. Ty Gibbs, my son races go-karts here in Mooresville locally, and I see Ty Gibbs at the kart track all the time riding his kart. Rain or shine, he's out there practicing, trying to learn to see what he can do. And even though it's a go-kart to a cup or an Xfinity car, it's still some of the same principles about running off line, braking in a straight line, accelerating in a straight line. But Brandon Jones, Noah Gregson, I see those guys out the kart track all the time, and I think it's paying off today.
I was lost the first time I went to the kart track in the rain. It's such a different thing. Riley Herbst, we saw there from that big hit from Gray Galding earlier. Looks like he broke a track bar and might be done for the day.
We're halfway through stage 2 in Portland. Ty Gibbs leading Brett Moffitt, Connor Mosack, Noah Gregson, and Brandon Jones. So good to have you with us live on a Saturday afternoon on FS1, NASCAR Xfinity Series, racing in Portland, Oregon, Portland International Raceway, playing host for the very first time with Trevor Bayne, Jamie McMurray. I'm Adam Alexander, Josh Sims, Jamie Howell on pit road. We've been singing the praises of Brett Moffitt, but the 02 just went off track, was running in the top 5 and only lost 1 position, so he goes from 4th back to 5th in the running order. You know, Sheldon Creed, just in front of him, has made a nice rally. I felt like he was a driver that really had a huge opportunity to make gains in that opening stage. Went off track, got no stage points, but they've stayed with it. He had that contact with Riley Herbst, really didn't hurt the car. And here he is, stage 2, 4th, and in position to pounce. What's their story, Jamie?
Well, the word to Sheldon at this point with 11 laps to go in the second stage is just click these off 1 lap at a time. He's turning the same lap times as the leader, so he's really happy with the car that he has. I talked to him just before the race started, and he said, we put a lot of resources into this weekend. We really think that with 4 road courses over the next 9 events that we can capitalize on this. He said, I'm a road racer. I don't mind racing in the rain. So the team has a lot of effort into this. He's got his head down, just clicking off the laps, just like they said, one after the other, staying in it.
Yeah, and you know, the one thing I think about there, Jamie, is just the ability to forget, right? Because when you have a problem, I mean, that can lock you up mentally and you see what might have been. And the reality is Sheldon's done a good job of forgetting about the problems, and now we get a caution. And if we hadn't had it for whatever it is, and we're not
it was
sure,
gonna be that.
we might have had it for Noah and Connor there.
No doubt. Gregson was more patient than I expected. We saw him kind of get anxious for the last 4 or 5 laps.
Yeah, and the caution for debris, and it's just some grass and mud that's been some sod that has been kicked up onto the track. Well, look at this.
Ooh, you know what I like?
Look, I know you say it.
Ooh.
You say it.
I like the lineup right now because we've got Ty Gibbs leading, but when I look at who's in 3rd, it worked out perfectly for what I said earlier. We're gonna get to see a restart here, and Noah Gregson's lap times. Ty Gibbs has been in his own league, but Noah Gregson is not far behind him, and it seems like as the track is drying out, that Noah Gregson's car likes that a little bit more than maybe what Ty Gibbs' car does.
And right before that caution there, they actually all ran their fastest laps of the race. Ty Gibbs ran his fastest lap of the entire race of anybody, and so it is drying out. It is going to get more racing.
What happened? A problem for Ty Gibbs. This is in the front.
Oh, wow.
Straightaway chicane, the Sheldon chicane.
I heard the crowd in the background, and I wasn't sure what happened.
Oh, what? Oh, my gosh. He just gets tagged by Jesse Awuji.
What is he thinking?
How does that happen?
Yeah, we got to get another replay to see.
Did the pace car pull out and slow him down pretty quickly in front of the field is the question. I had this happen. I was at ORP leading the race. Pace car pulled out in front of me. Stephen Wallace got me, spun me out leading the race. So I know what he's feeling right now, but man.
It looks like the car's okay. Some damage on the left front for Jesse. Jesse 3 laps down.
Oh, wow.
He's 3 laps down, running 34th.
Yeah, I mean, like we need to see more to really tell the story, but we've been under caution for a while. So there's really no reason for Jesse to be running that fast and certainly not getting into the leader.
And I thought maybe, you know, but he wouldn't have been the driver in position like to get the free pass where he's thinking, you know what I mean? Like I just, it's hard to imagine, like you said, Jamie, without seeing a broader perspective replay, if we have one, exactly what transpired there and why.
I'll tell you what, Jesse's got a lot more damage than Ty does. Fortunately for Ty, I mean, that could have been really big if he was a little further up on that right rear tire, just like Riley Herbst, what we saw happen with his track bar.
Well, and I mean, after seeing that, I have a little more concern for Ty Gibbs' car, because that's quite a bit of damage to the 34 car, even though it doesn't look bad on the 54. Did it bend something in the rear suspension of that car?
We speculated, but it is official now. Riley Herbst out of the race. He's with Josh.
Really an unfortunate incident for you. From your perspective, I know you haven't seen it yet, but what happened from what you could tell?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just, it was pouring rain here in Portland. I mean, I could be mad at everything, but I should be mad at myself first, because we are going to finish 3rd in stage 1 in our Monster Energy Ford Mustang, and I overstepped the line and put us in the back. So then once you run with the squirrels in the back, you're going to get wrecked. And coming out of the chicane there, I kind of looks like the two just kind of hooked us there, and then I thought we were okay. It's kind of hard to see there, and then, I mean, just everybody wants to pile in, and then we got destroyed. But like I said, I can't be mad at anybody but myself because I put us back there from stage 1. So, and we were having good runs going the last few months, and then all of a sudden, these last 2 weeks, we haven't finished where we wanted. So we'll take these 2 weeks to regroup and try to go win Nashville.
Thanks for your time, Riley.
Well, that was Riley's frustrated right there, but that was a good interview because you could tell he was mad, but took a lot of the blame for himself, and we've all had those days, Riley. So 2 weeks you can recover from that.
But what I hate for both he and Sam Mayer is they had it all going in a positive direction, and then you have a bad day today.
Oh, the 2 weeks off.
2 weeks to think about it.
Yeah, you get to win today. You get to bask in it for the next 2 weeks. Man, you have a bad weekend this weekend. That's such a good point, Adam, that you got 2 weeks of dwelling on it.
Well, our leader, Ty Gibbs, was about the only car on the track that hasn't had some kind of issue to this point. And
until now,
they just couldn't let him be alone, right?
We're going to get the restart here with 8 laps to go in the stage, and they will penalize Jesse Awuji here. They're going to hold him 2 laps for the incident that happened under caution with race leader Ty Gibbs. But I want to go to another story that is starting to develop here. We got 8 laps to go on the stage when we return to green. A.J. Allmendinger is going to restart in the 11th position. He started at the back after unapproved adjustments. We had heard he made as many as 30 adjustments on that car that put him at the back. He was off track more than 2 or 3 times in the early portion of this race, lost a lap, got the free pass, and now here he is with a chance to finish stage 2 in the top 10, and with his ability, you absolutely never write him off.
Now, as long as he doesn't get a Awuji'd, he'll be safe right there, Adam.
There you go.
I've got to think AJ's hoping this track dries out. As bad as his car was in the rain, as slick as it was, as it dries out here, maybe his car becomes a new animal for him.
Yeah, we knew Ty Gibbs was good yesterday. It didn't appear he was a second and a half lap faster than some of these other cars. But these are similar conditions to what we had yesterday. It was wet at the beginning of that practice and then slowly dried out, and they almost could have went to slicks at the end. And as you look, the cars, there's not near as much spray coming off. I know we're going slower right now, but the track is starting to dry out.
So it will be 8 laps to go when we go green. Front row, Gibbs and Mosack, the teammates at Joe Gibbs Racing. Mosack in the 18, 23 years old, making his first ever start in the Xfinity Series. Has been such a good driver the last couple of days for the coach. Gregson and Creed in row 2, and Jamie pointed it out. The 9 is really going to be the one to watch, restarting behind our leader, Ty Gibbs. Austin Hill has been good today. He's back there on row 3 with Brett Moffitt. Landon Castle in the top 10. So is Myatt Snyder, who's had a good afternoon. And then Andy Lally and Justin Allgaier complete the top 10, followed by, as we mentioned, A.J. Allmendinger in 11th.
Yeah, Ty Gibbs is going to have to be a little more defensive here. And if I'm him, I'm going to pull down a little bit lower so that the 9 can't get inside of me. And I'm going to do it early so that he knows what my plan is.
And you see the lights are back on the pace car. We've had to add a lap because they found some more debris on the track. And so it'll be a 7-lap run to end the stage. I'm curious, and you see Matt Jaskell's car is banged up, and perhaps that's the reason we've added some debris that they had to pick up. I'm curious for you guys, because I think about the days that some of these drivers have had and the comebacks, and we've told those stories. But do you feel as a driver when you go road course racing there is more grace to come back just because of all the different changes and complexities that a road course race can go through?
Well, I definitely think a clean day pays off at a road course race. First of all, you know, when we went to a road course race, we said, stay on the track. If you stay on the track all day, you're going to have a top 5. And that was kind of the mentality of a lot of these drivers coming out. Now, doing that is easier said than done, right? But it's obvious today that A.J. Allmendinger, Justin Allgaier, Noah Gregson, pretty much everyone has had an issue and they're still in contention. That does not happen at an oval at Charlotte. You spin out, you get into the wall, you have an issue, you're done. And these guys have battled back, and I think the rain plays to that some, but also, you know, having those stage breaks where you can work on the car, make sure everything's right, that also helps them recover a little bit.
There's also a bigger discrepancy in ability when you come to a road course. So yeah, if you're a good road racer and you have a couple issues, you know you're probably going to be able to make that up. But what changes today completely is not only is it a road course, but it's been raining. And that whole factor, when you key it into how easy it is, we saw Justin Allgaier, whose 3 road course wins he has in the Xfinity Series, barely get on the curb and spin out and run off the track. Those are the things that you just can't plan for, that you don't know are going to happen. So definitely easier to you know, recover in this. And as we see Noah Gragson run a little wide there, it's almost like he's trying to get in the water maybe to cool his tires down, which I wouldn't think we're to that point yet, but it appeared that's what he was doing right there.
Yeah, I definitely think he went for that puddle, and you can see the difference in the sheen of the racetrack, and maybe it is getting to a point where it's drying out enough. You know, we didn't think we'd see dry tires today, but we might see some slicks later on. He's probably, just like you said, cooling them down.
Now we get to our Xfinity fastest lap, and I know you're going to find this hard to believe, but best lap of the day goes to Ty Gibbs. Brett Moffitt is up there. Noah Gragson in his tremendous run back to the front, third on the list. Creed and Mosack have been fast today as well. Here's something that will blow you guys away. Today marks the 8th start in the Xfinity Series on a road course for Ty Gibbs. He's led all but 1 lap. You know, he's now top 10 all time.
Wow.
In laps led when it comes to road racing in the Xfinity Series.
Well, his very first win was at a road course. His first ever Xfinity race that he ran, and that put Ty Gibbs on the map, I think, for a lot of us. Saw something kind of vibrating there on his right front. I don't know what that was. Maybe he was running over the rumble strips, but it caught me off guard when I saw that on camera there.
Well, and we're going to see him at speed for the first time since he had that hard hit with Jesse Owuji. So if, in fact, he had any kind of damage, we'll probably find out right here. 7 laps to go, stage 2. Teammates on the front row, Gibbs and Mosack. Row 2, Creed and Gragson in that inside lane behind the race leader, Ty Gibbs.
Boy, it looked like Ty waited a long time in that restart zone. As you see, that's exactly what I would do. I would pull down to the bottom as quick as I can. And Noah decided to go to the outside.
Wow, he's
almost caught him off guard, but can he get it turned? He does. Gets into the left rear of the 54 just a little bit.
Now Mosack went through the chicane, right? He did not make the corner, but I did not notice him stopping. We'll continue to follow what the 18 does as the battle for the lead is on. Here comes Noah Gragson forcing Gibbs wide. The 9 is out front. Gibbs rallying back with Creed in the mix. And there's contact. Gibbs into Gragson, who's in the grass. All of this happening with 7 to go in stage 2.
Well, this will get interesting if Noah Gragson can ever get back up there, because it looked like Ty was a little bit mad that Noah got into him. Didn't push him all the way off the racetrack, but then it looked like Ty did retaliate and go ahead and spin out the 9 car.
This damage we see on the left rear might tell more of a story here, JB, other than being run off to the left side of the track. When they were coming out of turn 2, I think there was some pretty heavy contact there to get Noah to the position that he was in going into turn 4.
And I don't know about that damage left front or how long it's been there for Sheldon Creed, but he's been able to get around Gibbs. So Sheldon Creed is now the race leader. Gibbs is second. Andy Lowley is up to third now.
This will be a test of mentality for Ty Gibbs. Can he regroup and get this thing back together? He got spun out under caution, ran off, and now he's got to get going again here and try to get the lead.
Sheldon Creed off track, so is Ty Gibbs. This is the replay of the restart here.
And you see Noah hits that curb
right there,
and then gets into a little bit of damage to the left rear of the 54 car. Lally came out hero on that restart. Great job by him.
By the way, Mosack did get a pass-through penalty. Andy Lowley is the new race leader after Gibbs and Creed went off track in turn 12.
Yeah, we saw Ty looked like he got to the inside of Sheldon Creed on the entry to 12, and both of those guys ended up running off and spinning out off the racetrack.
This race has gotten crazy, and running 6th now, A.J. Allmendinger.
What we just saw is exactly what I was thinking about with Ty Gibbs there. When you start having adversity and you know you're the fastest car by far, trying to recover and be okay being second for a split second is okay. And it seemed like he got a little bit antsy and wanted to get that lead back. really quickly.
Well, and the other thing that has done for Ty Gibbs, I'm going to say his troubles are not over yet. It has put him back there in the clutches of where Noah Gragson is. And I'll assure you that Noah Gregson's going to be furious when he gets back to Ty Gibbs.
And here's the other thing I would point out. Second stage today, where Creed is running in the top 2-3. There he's leading. And he's got an opportunity to do huge things for his chances to make the championship. And he's wrecked late in the stage. Let's go now to the battle for the 9 and the 54, Gragson and Gibbs.
So Noah ran Ty a little bit wide there, but it doesn't look like it ran Ty all the way off the racetrack. And you see Ty come back, get to the inside. I'm going to say that was a little bit of frustration on Ty Gibbs' part.
Probably getting into that corner for sure, but then you see his front tires locked up and slides into him. Similar thing here. He's not had to try to outbrake anyone or race around traffic. He gets in second, you know, stuff on his windshield, drives in deeper than he should have, and locks up the tires.
Jeremy Clements is off track.
Yeah,
and
he's going to have some damage. As I say, I can see water coming out of the right front of that car. So heavy damage for Jeremy Clements right there.
And a lot of grass on track as Ty Gibbs comes through. It's 5 laps to go. And it looks like maybe Clements was racing with the 39 of Ryan Sieg. At least Ryan Sieg had a good view of this. Let's see what happens.
This has been a great passing zone all day long. We've seen guys pass on both sides, the inside and the outside, as they enter turn 10. And it looks like Jeremy Clements just had a little bit of a wheel hop right there, got on the brakes. Nothing that Ryan Sieg did wrong right there.
Yeah, once it starts with wheel hop, I mean, you're kind of doomed. You know, in a dry condition, can gas it up a little bit to try to get the wheel hop out, but in the rainy conditions, there's just no recovery from there.
Watch Brett Moffitt. Slides wide, Landon Castle into him. Brett goes around. And that right there, a product of road racing in the wet.
And we've got stuff happening everywhere, guys.
Yeah, all the tires have fallen off in this race in the past 5 laps.
Is this 5 to go in the last stage or second stage here?
But hey, to update, Gibbs is now back in the 26th spot, making 25th. He just picked up a position. Noah's running 22nd. Sheldon Creed is 15th. And you can see Stephen Parsons, who got hit last time around, has got a lot of damage, and that thing is not where it needs to be.
His track bar is bent. He's going to have to pit right here. He clearly knows he's got an issue. I'm telling you, the guy that can't believe his day right now is A.J. Allmendinger. All of the issues he's had, and what a battle for the lead right here with Andy Lally and Myatt Snyder. We haven't really got to talk about these two, but the top 5 right now is pretty incredible.
I did not have on my bingo card Andy Lally versus Myatt Snyder to win stage 2. I did not have that.
Well, check right behind him, Landon Castle, somebody we've barely talked about all day because he's been pretty clean for today. But right here, A.J. Allmendinger running off the track right behind Landon Castle again.
He was up to 4th. I thought he was going to get Landon
it's
get
not
up
over.
to 3rd. Yeah, and look at all the debris in it looks like some damage on the right rear too now.
I'm going to say he had some help right here, seeing that damage on the right rear.
Josh, what do you have on the 16?
Yeah, AJ came over the radio and said right rear might have went there. That's why he ended up off track. An issue with the right rear for AJ Allmendinger, guys.
Myatt Snyder now has taken over the top spot, getting by the 44 of Andy Lally. And they'll come off of turn 12 this time and be 3 laps to go in the stage. Now we go back and show you how Myatt was able to get around Andy. Down that back straightaway. This is the area you just talked about.
Yeah, that's been a great passing zone if you can get the drive you need off of turn 7. Even if that car in front of you blocks to the inside, you have the option to go to the outside. If he blocks the outside, you can get to the inside. So that's been one of the better passing zones we've seen all day.
And this is the funny thing to me. Coming here where nobody has experience and you talk to drivers.
Oh, he's locked up.
Myatt Snyder
Kept
goes
on
off
the track, though.
Here
He
comes
recovered
Andy Lally.
okay. As soon as you get to the lead, you have no reference. You don't have that rabbit. You can't back up your corner and judge it off the car in front of you. And the only person with experience as the rabbit so far is Ty Gibbs, who's back in 25th place. So all these drivers, as they get to the lead, they now have to start looking for braking markers. The track is drying out, getting faster, so you have to push that marker, and it causes mistakes.
Andy Lally having quite the day. 2nd right now, under attack from Landon Castle. What's their story, Jamie?
Andy, before this battle started, said that his limit out on the racetrack is the attack under braking. So they're going to make some adjustments once we do come in for the stage break. But I want you to look right back behind his pit. So this is one of his crew members. They are now prepping the slick tires. I can tell you, standing on pit lane, there is no rain falling right now. The communication over the radios is that the track is drying out from turn 1 all the way through turn 12. So I anticipate some slicks coming out. We might see them out on the racetrack today, guys.
Saw Justin Allgaier just went wide there coming through turn 12. 2 laps to go in our second stage. Listen to this top 5. Myatt Snyder, Andy Lally, Landon Castle, Austin Hill, Josh Berry, whose name we've not said today.
Well, keep on going there, Adam, because look in 6. There's your pole sitter, Anthony Alfredo, who's working his way back up through the field after having some issues early on.
Yeah, and the leader, Myatt Snyder, you saw a little bit of smoke when they went into turn 1 and he got on the brakes. I thought initially that he had locked the brakes up, but it appears he's just got a little bit of damage on that right front fender. It's pushed back in when the car travels and squats down when you get on the brakes. That had a little bit of rub, but that's not going to be an issue for him. This battle for the lead, though, has just been awesome. What a job this guy is doing. Landon Castle, clearly not a guy when I think of excellent road racer, do I think of Landon Castle, but he started off the season a little bit off. It just seems like every week, though, this 10 team keeps getting a little bit better.
Well, I tell you what, Landon Castle's been around for a long time, and he's got experience, and he's one of those people that know, just keep it on the track all day, and it'll be a great day, and that's what he's done to get himself in this position. It wasn't raw speed or making great passes. It's let everybody else implode, and here he is in 3rd place.
And this is a team that faced a ton of adversity at the beginning of the year. His first season driving that 10 car for Colleague, but handling the day quite well. Currently has a playoff position when you look at the standings, although he just lost a spot on track to Austin Hill.
So Jamie Howe was just reporting about they're getting slick tires ready. All these teams wish we had about 10 laps left in this stage because the track is drying out. It is going to be so hard. You see the dry line that's developing on the front stretch. It's going to be so hard for these guys to make that commitment because there are parts of the track that are still pretty wet, and the rain tires will shred in the dry, but those slick tires, it's brutal trying to get any traction. You see it's still really wet right through here. And this turn 4 that's coming up is where we've seen so many issues today.
Myatt Snyder just ran his fastest lap of the race. Now that he doesn't have the pressure of Andy Lally right on his bumper, he can open up his lines and start to run where he wants to and not charge those braking zones, and it's showing up as he pulls away here in the lead.
The car, this 21 car right here of Austin Hill, watch him. He's being super aggressive. He's going to set up Andy Lally right here in turn 7, and he's been so good into turn 9. We've seen him be able to pass multiple cars, and his car has come to life right now.
Jamie, as it dries out and this track, gains grip and builds heat with these rain tires, I've not had much experience going from wet to dry as the track dries out. Do you still need to try to track into that rain line or the wet line to keep the tires from wearing out too much?
Well, they're definitely wanting to try to keep them cool, but this is the last lap, so I don't care about my tires because I'm going to give it all I have trying to get these extra stage points.
Hey, think about coming into this. Junior Motorsports had won 10 consecutive stages. They were red hot in the first 2 stages of the race. They won 4 of the last 5 races overall. That streak has come to a close today. Stage 1 goes to Ty Gibbs in dominating fashion. Stage 2 gets out of hand, and it results in a stage win, the first of his career for Myatt Snyder, driving the 31 for Jordan Anderson. Congratulations to Myatt. Andy Lally is 2nd, Hill is 3rd, Castle 4th. Berry gets back to the top 5. Best running position of the day for him. Anthony Alfredo, Justin Allgaier, A.J. Allmendinger 8th. Scores some stage points, so does Sheldon Creed. In the final car in the top 10, stage 2, Jade Buford. Myatt Snyder got his first career win last year at the Homestead Miami Speedway. Could he be in line for win number 2 today? He got that green and white checker in our second stage.
declared winners in 13 races across the country. Few have snagged the flag more than once this season, but this is the first time NASCAR's Xfinity Series has seen this track. These boys are open not to spin out and get lost in the woods.
First trip to Portland International Raceway for the NASCAR Xfinity Series, and it's safe to say everyone getting their money's worth today. And the one observation we're all making here is there's a dry lane on the track, and we've got the dry tires on the wall. What does that mean for this final stage?
Well, don't get out of the dry with slicks on, right, Jamie? That could be a recipe for disaster in a passing zone.
Yeah, it's going to definitely narrow up the passing lane. You're going to have to be obviously in the dry lane with those dry tires. It'll make it really edgy for those guys pulling out the line, but it's drying pretty quick. I mean, if you look at that, and really just the wind of those cars going by will continue to dry the track out. Those guys will also keep pushing the limits of where the wet is, which will help some as well.
I mean, I still see reflection in the dry line a little bit of the caution lights here. This is kind of a gutsy call to be going to dry tires already, but if you don't, you get caught here.
Here's what happened stage 1, stage 2, and the combined points that drivers have earned so far. Ty Gibbs doesn't come back to get any points in stage 2 after, dominating the early portion of this race. He did win that opening stage. Good day for Landon Castle. Obviously, Austin Hill, the best of the bunch. Connor Mosack speaks to his consistency despite the penalty. Got a bunch of stage points. Josh Berry with a good finish there in stage 2. And give an attaboy to the guys from Our Motorsports, both Brett Moffitt and Anthony Alfredo on the board. So this is where we get everybody stopped on pit road. We put 3 minutes on the clock, and you can fuel the car, you can change tires, and for coverage of all the pit lane activity, let's send it down to Josh Sims.
Let's start with the 31 of Maya Snyder. How about that? His first stage win. The team happy with the car right now. No adjustments. They're going to put those slicks on like everybody else is doing out here, but the 31 has more road experience than most people in the field, so he's stuck to his plan. He's doing what he wanted and got that stage win. Jamie?
Also sticking to his plan is Andy Lally in the number 44. We saw him battling at the lead into the top 3, and the big communication to him at this stage break was that he still needs some more rear stability, so they are going to make a shock adjustment. Here you can see that work being done right now. He also needs to get better drive off the corner, so he's going to get a track bar adjustment. Saw the yellow Goodyear logos up on the wall, looking to switch over to slicks right now. Andy said to the team that's going to be a gutsy decision. He thinks it's still pretty wet on the backside, but they're going to make the call, Josh.
Let's talk about the 10 of Landon Castle. He kept asking over the radio if the track, if it's on the radar, it looks like it's going to rain again. They're going with the slicks as well. Feels comfortable with that. Now, this is a guy that only has one top 10 on a road course in his career, but he's in line to get another one. He said the key was patience for him going into this race. He's been patient and finds himself in good position right now, Jamie.
We've also seen Josh Berry move up through the field. He had to start at the back after changing the splitter after hitting the curb in qualifying. He alluded to this race as being like bowling. He said somebody's just going to lose it. The track is so slick, they're going to knock over all the pins. He's been able to capitalize on that, find his way up into the top 5 at this point. He was one of the first drivers to say to the team, give me some slicks. This track is drying off fast. I want to go out and fight. They've made that decision, a couple of adjustments, but overall he's happy with the car, Josh.
Speaking of being happy with their car, AJ Allmendinger not happy at the beginning of this race, had all the problems you can imagine, but he's found his way into the top 10, and with those slicks on, and as the track that is dried out, he's gotten stronger and stronger with the day. They wiped off the grill. They're taping up and putting some work in on the back of that car right now. You see some damage on the back right side of that, but otherwise things are getting better for AJ Allmendinger, guys.
Hold on.
Well, we see everybody trying to fix the 16 AJ Allmendinger, a little bit of damage there, and you can't count him out, Trevor. He's had such an up and down day and still finds himself in the top 10.
Anthony Alfredo has the wets on there. You can tell from the white letters on the side of the tire if you can't see the tread. The slick tires will have yellow lettering, the traditional Goodyear color. So if we get into a situation where there's a mixed bag, that's a quick way to tell for you fans.
I mean, the dries are going to be faster if you can stay in the dry line, but I just think it's such a risk right now to take putting the slick tires on.
They were cutting it close there on the 16. Did you see them? I mean, the clock was winding down, and they were counting, and they got their hands off the car right as the clock expired. Final stage going to be eventful for you, and we got it next. It's time for the final stage in Portland, Oregon for the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Our coverage today on FS1 presented by Credible with Trevor Bay, Jamie McMurray. I'm Adam Alexander. Reminder, tomorrow, Cup Series racing in St. Louis for the first time. Coverage begins 2 Eastern on FS1 and the Fox Sports app. That's race day. We're racing just outside the arch at 3:30. Chase Briscoe is on the pole. As we line him up for the final stage, we get a quick report from Jamie Howe.
Well, our pole sitter, Anthony Alfredo, one of the only cars, I only counted 2 of them, but there's just a handful of cars that went back out on those wet weather tires. His crew chief, Pat Trison, is out spotting. That leaves the car chief, Tucker Scanlon, down here making some decisions. Why not go to slicks right now?
You know, I think it's still a little bit too wet out there for dries. If you get out of the groove where it's dried up, we're going to be out of luck, right? You're just going to get shoved out and then be on slicks and they're wet. So, you know, I think wets are definitely a way to go. All
right, we're going green, guys.
Yeah,
Front row, Andy Lowley and Myatt Snyder.
Yeah, and they're both on slicks, but P3 Austin Hill is on the wet tires. It's going to be really interesting to see. He's clearly going to be better, I think, for the first few corners. Just be curious how fast they go away.
From what we saw, 4 guys on wet tires here. We'll see what happens.
And yeah, Myatt Snyder taking the outside lane here.
Yeah, we haven't seen that all day long. He must feel like that must be where the dry line is going to be, and that's going to put him up in a better position when he gets to turn 1. But a great jump by Myatt Snyder.
He did a really good job of manipulating where he wanted to be as they got the green flag.
This track just got a lot more narrow, guys. With all these people on dry tires, they have to stay in that dry. Brandon Jones back here is another guy that got wet tires, so I saw him dive out of line when all the people were fighting for real estate in the dry. He used that with wet tires and said, "I'll take it."
They're gonna let him have the wet area because obviously they don't want to be in it. This guy being on slicks is great because he can go exactly where he wants, not contested. He's going to have a little bit of a lead, not have to push his car. But for some of these other guys, if they slip a little bit and Austin Hill or Anthony Alfredo gets inside of them and gets them in the wet part of the track, they're going to be along for a ride.
The guy to watch for me, 16 of AJ Allmendinger. And the other thing I would say here, because of how narrow it is, it's probably going to be incredibly aggressive, especially in these early laps.
You can already tell the pace, though. Like watching these guys, there's no rooster tail. The pace is picking up tremendously here.
Myatt Snyder has checked out by 15 seconds. And that advantage is erased because of debris.
And I bet all the wet tires on those cars are going to be erased as well. They're coming and putting on some slicks right here.
So that debris right in the middle of the racing groove there where things had dried out. So it'll be inside of 22 laps to go when we return to the green in Portland. We are back in Portland, and I would say we're closing on the end, but I would anticipate we got a long way to go, despite the fact we're just over 20 laps remaining. we had the Jackman went down hard there. But this is Austin Hill coming in to make a pit stop, and they're doing what we quite honestly we thought they would be doing in this circumstance, going from those wet tires to the dry.
Yeah, they took off on the slicks a lot better than I thought they were going to be able to. We know that groove is narrow, but it seemed like everybody was able to manage that. Jamie, you got more down there?
Well, you see them taking their time, the reason being when they have to come to pit lane with this set of rules to make this tire change, they have to eat up 60 seconds regardless. So there's no point in rushing through this tire change here. He said to the team, we're going to have to take our medicine. I'd rather pit now, go ahead and make this change, and then have to drive back through the field. By doing it early, he still has 20 laps or so in the stage before the checkered flags to get it done.
Well, and Adam, based on what we saw in the last 15 laps, he has plenty of time. There's been a lot of action in this race, and it's only going to get wilder as it gets down to the end.
He doesn't even have to do anything. Just stay on track and let them spin out.
Well, and you know, comebacks have been the name of the game all day long. And if you just look at the top 10, it is littered with guys that have been off track, had problems, and you thought maybe were out of the game and somehow found themselves back into contention.
The one that, Trevor, that I'm a little surprised by is the 23 car. You see, he's trying to get those, still has wet tires on, trying to get those cooled down in the water. He stayed out on those wet tires and is going to take a chance. I can't imagine with the way it's drying out and the radar that we looked at a few seconds ago, it doesn't appear there's any more rain on the way. I just can't imagine those are going to last very long.
This is when you know you have a bad hand and you just keep going.
Hit me.
You just keep going. Yeah. You know, that's what he's doing here. I think Austin Hill and his team did the right thing. It was a hard thing to do. I mean, they just gave up all their track position they fought so hard for. But at this point, you've made your bed. Like, you've got to take the beating now, I think, versus later, because at some point, I just don't see these wet tires holding up very well with this driving track.
How about Brandon Jones back there in 13th, Josh?
Yeah, that's the big question for the 19 team right now. Brandon Jones saying there's like a single lane of dryness they might be able to run, but the guys on slicks are just passing them, so they're trying to make a decision on what to do. They said when you took off those wet tires yesterday in practice, you got surprisingly better, so there's a lot of debate right now on the radio of the 19.
A little too late for debate here, Adam. We're going green. There's not much they can do at this point. I mean, I think you've got to they should have come already at this point, and now they're going to it's going to be tough.
Well, and the problem is, if they have to pit under green, if you're not within 15 seconds of the leader, you're going to go a lap down on top of that. And it's going to be hard to get going on those cold, slick tires when you pull back out.
Look at this, though. Myatt Snyder, last time on the restart, takes the outside. This time he goes inside, which is what we have seen predominantly throughout the afternoon.
And you see Andy Lally trying to push him more to the inside because they both want to get on that dry line. But it appears that that's widened out just a little bit, and both those guys are in an okay position.
I can't believe he flip-flopped it here. He got the lead easily from the outside the first time. It's almost like he got lucky once and said, all right, I'm not trying that again.
Well, maybe he didn't maybe something happened inside the car and he didn't like the position that he was put in after that. The key is the launch, and you see Myatt Snyder again got a great launch, really no contest getting down into turn one.
A.J. Allmendinger driving to the inside of Andy Lally. Sheldon Creed spinning, many drivers missing that first turn. They have to do the stop and go, and this is going to completely reshuffle the lineup as Sheldon Creed got damaged there.
Well, he had already felt like he did his stop, and whoever that was right in front of him decided to stop on the backside of the chicane, caused Sheldon Creed to get some damage to the front of his grill.
This is a new line we're starting to see for him already. They're pushing that down more and more to a traditional line as this does dry out. But
you know, the other thing to watch as we put dry tires on, watch Landon Castle's car. You can see it carrying the inside front tire.
There's Sheldon Creed you were talking about.
Sheldon Creed there.
Jeb Burton, look at this.
Had a great day going as well. It's unfortunate. Looks like that's another instance like with Sheldon Creed where someone's checked up in front of him. Oh, Sheldon can't see where he's going right now.
I mean, this is going to be such a day of what might have been for Sheldon Creed. Fastest here in practice yesterday, qualifies top 10, in position to get stage points. That never pans out for him, and now this with 20 laps to go.
Yo, I've not done a broadcast with you before, but I feel like an auctioneer. I can't keep up in here.
We've got a caution. And it's not only for Jeb Burton, who has stalled, but also for Sheldon Creed, who is dropping fluid. And because he continues to ride around, this could be a lengthy cleanup here.
Buford get hit in the left rear and kind of start this whole gaggle, you called it earlier.
Yeah, it's just a little bit of a chain reaction. You saw that happen kind of early on, and it's wet when you get down there. So if you're not in that preferred line, those guys, they all just start spinning, and you see that Sheldon Creed, it's so frustrating for him to get spun out and then get that damage, not knowing that car was going to stop in front of him. You see Ty Gibbs immediately on the top of your screen right there, stopped, paid the penalty, and then was able to get going. And I think that's the best way to go about it. Don't wait to the end like you see the 36 car right there do. Do it early and get it over with.
Well, and even that, he chose to go to that straight line. He didn't even try to get through all the mess that was happening to the right. He just said, I'll go straight. No harm there.
Jeb Burton, he has the slick tires on, got in a little bit of that water, and was just along for the ride and cleaned out 3 or 4 of those guys. It's going to be interesting to see how much oil the two-car is putting down, because at some point that had to run out of oil. But yeah, it's going to take a while to clean that up, and that's my guess, is that he eventually just ran out.
Hopefully the steam's radiator, that fluid coming out of the very front of the car could potentially just be water, and they've had their fair share of water today, so that won't be an issue.
There we go. There we go. Number 1.
Yeah.
He's mad at Jeb Buford. He got 2 number 1s.
Yeah. Back to back. Didn't like how things went with Jeb Buford. I'm looking at the scoring pylon, and I look at 9th, Ty Gibbs. I look at 10th, Noah Gragson.
We could see more number 1s before the day's over, is what you're saying.
You know, and for all the off-track activity today, I feel like the AMR safety team has had a fairly quiet afternoon, but the game might be changing, because this could be the first of many incidents like this that we'll have the rest of the way.
Well, before in the rain, the wrecks were all slow speed. You're going slow, you spin out by yourself, go off track. Now we're on more dry conditions, the speeds pick up, that contact is much heavier, the wrecks get bigger and more chaotic.
We're going to step aside, 18 laps remaining in Portland, and this the biggest crash we've had, a pile-up in turn 1. NASCAR Xfinity Series racing in Portland, Oregon. Second road course race of the season. Portland International Raceway playing host. And, you know, this race in Stage 1, Stage 2 exclusively run in the wet. But things started to dry out at the end of Stage 2. So a lot of drivers went to the dry tires at that Stage 2 break. Some did not, but you see Anthony Alfredo finally making the move to the dries from the wets, and you can see why, because that dry patch really widening out down the front straightaway.
Yeah, and you see most of the front stretch is dry, but as you get down into turn 1 where you see these wreckers or the jet dryers driving through, that's what Jeb Burton hit. And so you have good grip until you hit that the water, and then you're just along for the ride. And essentially that's what it looked like happened to Jeb Burton, is that he moved down, tried to make the pass, and then the track, the water kind of flares out a little bit just there. And look at all of this water, Trevor. I mean, this whole little area, you just can't get in that with these slick tires.
No, and you're going to be too wide in turn 1. You have to be on a restart. And to the left side that we saw early on in this shot, it's really wet still. So somebody's going to be in that at all times on a restart. You know, the other thing you point out about that zone into turn 1, as we go back green and these drivers get their braking zones mapped out, as soon as they start racing someone else and have to make a pass, or someone tries to pass them, they're now in the wet. And it's going to dramatically change that ability to make a pass.
Add to the equation, speedy drive.
Oh, and you see these guys driving through it. It's like just static when it hits your windshield. I see all those guys. I'm like, stop driving through it. Let this guy blow it off, because on top of your windshield already being wet, when you get some of this, the dust and stuff on your windshield on top of that, it's just like glue.
17 laps to go, which feels like an eternity based on how this race has gone. Here's a race recap.
How can we recap all this, guys?
It might be done by Tuesday.
I mean,
this started before the green flag.
Allmendinger didn't even make the green flag before he ran off for the first time.
Yeah, AJ started in the back. They had made a bunch of adjustments, and you saw his issues. He eventually went one lap down. And Sam Mayer, one of those getting damage early in the race.
Very first restart.
Yeah, in fact, this is it, right? I mean, this is the start. Anthony Alfredo on the pole, misses that opening turn. Daniel Hemrick was forcing the action there, and things got crazy early, and the festivities were just beginning for the 16 of Allmendinger.
Yeah, you see Allmendinger running off of turn 4, which has been an issue for everybody all day long. Here you see Sheldon Creed trying to get to the inside of Ty Gibbs. A little bit of contact. This was for the lead early in the race.
Brandon Jones goes around here. We've seen a lot of issues here, and then after this, we have cars checking up. Sam Mayer piles in, knocks the nose off of his car, and ends his day.
Into Stage 1, Ty Gibbs, who led all but one lap in that first stint of the race.
What a difference from Stage 1 to now. Look how wet it is at this point in the race. This is with Riley Herbst. He doesn't really have any damage until right here. You see Greg Gaulding's going to come in, clobbers him in the right rear, and ends both their days.
Early Stage 2, there were 4 or 5 drivers involved in this one. And Greg Gaulding was done for the day, same for Riley Herbst. This was under caution with Ty Gibbs leading.
This is the weirdest thing in the whole race. Jesse Iwuchi's 3 laps down. We think he's trying to get past Ty Gibbs. Somehow ends up running into him, spinning the leader of the race out. This, though, Trevor, this is when it got interesting. You see Noah Gragson moves Ty Gibbs a little bit out of the way, and what does Ty do in return?
Listen, these guys are aggressive. We knew that Noah Gragson was going to push it. I don't think I saw the 54 pushing him back that hard that early.
And then Ty Gibbs, just a few corners later, on the inside of Sheldon Creed, and both of them spin out and run off the course, and this was kind of just the start of the end of Sheldon Creed's day.
They were running 1-2 at that time, Gibbs and Creed. Here comes the battle for the lead. Second stage, you got Myatt Snyder in the 31, the 44 of Andy Lally. And Stage 2 goes to Myatt Snyder, his first ever stage win, the first for Jordan Anderson Racing. And here's the big one. Restart final stage, and we got cars everywhere in the Shelton chicane.
Right here, Sheldon's Creed's end of his day. LeBay checks up for his stop-and-go penalty, and Creed has nowhere to go.
Yeah, and Sheldon actually ends up being mad at Jay Buford. We're obviously going to skip that. That might have been the best part, and they skipped it, Adam.
Well,
come on.
Maybe you'll give me one of those later. 7 cautions today. We have 27 cars on the lead lap, so there are many that you feel like still could make some kind of a play in this race. 6 lead changes among 5 drivers. It's Myatt Snyder out front right now. Landon Castle, AJ Allmendinger, Andy Lally, Justin Allgaier, the top 5.
Good count.
15 laps to go in Portland. Sheldon Creed is out of the race. Let's go to Jamie Howe.
It is a frustrated Sheldon Creed. They had such a solid run going. You said it earlier. You put so much effort into this race. We saw the displeasure you had for the 48 of Jade Buford. What happened on the racetrack?
Yeah, I mean, I thought we had an okay day going. I made a mistake running second there. Drove back to the lead. And I don't know if the 54 got me or if we both just spun together. Yeah, and here's the 48. Just no. But I mean, we've gone through there so many times and just go straight. I get rolling here, and I'm looking left, and the 36 just stops in front of me. So, yeah, the way my year's gone, every time we have speed, something goes wrong. So, hats off to my wheeling guys. Everyone at RCR has been working really hard to make our cars faster. And, yeah, today I feel like, you know, we had a really good shot at winning. So, frustrated that a RCR Alliance car drives through us like that and kind of takes us out of it. So
Frustrating way to end the day. Thanks you, Sheldon.
But, you know, everything going to be put in perspective because he's going to come back home to Charlotte, and his wife, Cammie, is expecting their first child any day. So I know he's disappointed, but in advance, congratulations to Sheldon and Cammie on the birth of their new child.
Yeah, and I know Sheldon. I see him out at the kart track. He's a part of Josh Wise's program. He works extremely hard. Great race car driver. We've seen him do so well in the truck series. Had high expectations for him this year. And I just don't, his luck, and I feel like you make your own luck in racing, but he's had a lot of things. Just like he talked about, he was looking to the left right there, exiting the chicane. He was looking to the left because he thought cars would be coming, like exiting the chicane like he was. He did not expect Alex LeBay to be doing his stop and go right in front of him.
Let's go back down to Jamie.
Well, Jeb Burton has also been released from the infield care center. Talk us through what the conditions were like out there.
It was pretty crazy. We had a decent day going. The first stage, I made a mistake. We should have got stage points. We finished 11th. And the next stage, I think I was running 10th and tried to get just a little bit and hit the curb and spun out. And then there at the end, I think they were wrecking, getting into one, and I got into the water and wheel hopped and just couldn't stop. It kind of crazy because you think it's dry and then you try to make a move and then it's too late. Just hate it for our guys, our first DNF, and we had a special paint scheme this weekend with Rob Elementary and all the victims there, so praying for their families, and we got 2 weeks off and we'll try to go get them in Nashville.
All right, thank you, Jeb.
Yeah, it's great that Jeb ran that paint scheme, thinking about all those families in Texas with that tragedy at the elementary school 10 days ago. And unfortunate for him, as he said, they have run well this year and always finished in front of where you probably would have expected. Had a good car today, and unfortunately no fruit for their labor. So here we go. We're going to get the restart with 13 laps to go. In the front row, going to be Myatt Snyder, Landon Castle, and waiting in the wings, the 16 of A.J. Allmendinger.
I was about to say it's go time. Business is about to pick up, but I don't know if business could get any busier right now for us. It's been a wild race so far. You know, the thing is, when you put dry tires, slick tires on these drivers, confidence sometimes can outweigh grip level, and that's what we heard from Jeb Burton. You know, he went to make a move, then there was water there, and so this is a really, I'll call it diverse for lack of better words. You've got wet, dry, all kinds of stuff going on, along with just trying to be better than the next guy. The other thing is, your car can change tremendously from a wet condition to dry. We might see somebody like A.J. Allmendinger, who struggled so bad early on in the wet, his car was no good, come to life right here.
Yeah, and we've talked about Myatt Snyder. He was on the outside. Now he chose the inside. This is the second restart in a row, but it's been all about that jump, and he's done a really good job. Landon Castle has to time this out just right so he can be side by side with Myatt as they get down into turn one.
First time Castle has been on the front row for a restart today. We'll see how he handles it. 13 remaining in Portland.
Allmendinger thought about it. You see Myatt protects just a little bit in that water, though. Is he going to be able to get it slowed down? No, he's not going to. He just barely gets it slowed down.
A.J. Allmendinger comes through to take the lead. Myatt Snyder able to gather things up and get back to second in front of Allgaier. And now they're wrecking behind him. Brett Moffitt off track. Connor Mosack. Spencer Pumpelly goes around. Bailey Curry spinning. As of now, we stay green.
It's just a product of guys barely getting off into the wet part of the track, We saw Brett Moffitt got hooked by somebody. I think he was trying to get into the dry. Super frustrating for all those guys involved.
Very similar to Riley Herbst's wreck early on. You know, that area just tightens up so much. It's hard to judge, I think, of how hard you are on the left rear and get turned. AJ Allmendinger back to the lead, y'all. Early on, wrecked before the first green flag, wrecked a couple more times, had issues. My goodness.
Hey, I tried to tell you guys at the beginning that he was the guy to beat. Nobody wanted to listen to Jamie.
8th caution of the day, and this is what we talked about earlier. Now you get off track, and it's so hard to gather things up because it's just so wet. And there's our pole sitter, Anthony Alfredo.
Well, and we talked about a few minutes ago, he tried to stay out on the wet tires. They then had to pit after everyone else stayed out, and it just puts you in the back. And when there's a wreck, your percentage of being involved in that goes up significantly.
Hate it for Connor Mosack because he was making his first ever start, and it'd been so impressive. And some of these guys leaving the window net up, I think they just want to push, right?
Well,
I mean, to help them.
Well, they do, and here's what's happened. Early in the race, guys ran off. As you can see, Spencer, I don't think he can see where he's going right now.
Yep, evidently
trying
not.
to maybe get to the fire truck or an exit. But early in the race, when guys would run off, they had the wet tires on. They're treaded. They would get in the wet grass. They could get going. With these slick tires, when they're getting off into the grass, I just don't think guys can literally get the car moving. They just need a little bit of a push to get back on to the racing surface.
Well, and at this point, the attrition rate is so high. I mean, you just want to do anything you can to stay in because you feel like if we continue to have items like this happen on track, you can have a chance to salvage a decent finish.
Yeah, and Myatt Snyder got really lucky right here. He made a mistake of getting a little too far to the inside, probably looking in his mirror trying to protect from Allmendinger, and then you see Brett Moffitt gets hooked right there. I can't tell who it was that hooked him, but once that happens, these guys are just along for the ride, Trevor.
Even the 7 car right there off of that corner almost got hooked by Lally. Lally checked up and gave some grace to Allgaier. But yeah, Myatt Snyder, I didn't think there was any way he was going to make that corner. Gets back on, doesn't jump the curb, doesn't get the penalty. Landon Castle's heads up. He's aware and gives him room. You know, he could have easily gotten his left side knocked off. You got to hate that for Connor Mosack, going to the back here and having a great start to his first Xfinity race, and then right now it ends up in smoke.
Saw Parker Chase in the 26, driving for Sam Hunt, who spent some time in the top 10 today, also has damage, and there he is. He's been able to drive back around to the pit lane.
If we go back to that restart and we talk about Myatt Snyder, he's the control car. But when you have someone like AJ Allmendinger, who's won 7 of these road course races, you're paranoid about him and knowing that he's going to be able to outbrake. And you see AJ starts to show him the nose.
That's all he has to do.
Comes back in the line, and then Myatt automatically pulled down to just a little bit of a block, and it would have been fine other than the track was wet right there. And when that right front tire got into the water, you just can't control the car. Myatt does a good job recovering here, but I think a lot of that was just a product of Myatt wanting to defend, knowing how good AJ Allmendinger is at these type of tracks.
And that's all AJ had to do, is show him a nose, make him think about it. And when he looked up in that mirror, saw AJ peek to the right, AJ's job was done. Get back in line, let him make the mistake at that point.
I look at drivers that are now in the top 10, and you know, one of the cool things that's happened in the first half of the regular season, we've had 2 different organizations get their first win all time. SS Greenlight Racing in Fontana, California, Cole Custer driving for Bobby Dotter, and a couple of weeks ago at Texas, Big Machine Racing with Tyler Reddick behind the wheel. And then you look, up in the top 10 right now, Myatt Snyder's up there for Jordan Anderson. Alpha Prime has Andy Lally up inside the top 5. Ryan Sieg is there. So some really good stories in the top 10 of organizations that would love today to get someone their first career victory. Let's go to Josh.
And here with Bruce, the 16 team, it's been a crazy day for AJ Allmendinger. What have you been telling him to get through this? And as we look at it, it looks like the rain might be coming down a little bit again. What's the plan here?
Man, we've had a lot of ups and downs today. Didn't start off very good, but I told him just battle back. It's a long race, long way to go. Anything can happen to these tracks. And yeah, to the point, it looks like the rain's starting to fall again. Everybody out there's got slick tires on. So we'll kind of see what happens over these next, I think there's 10 to go. So, just kind of keep battling adversity. We've had a lot of fun today, a lot of moving parts and people, so just kind of keep it out front and hope for the best here.
Thanks for your time and good luck the rest of the way. Jamie?
Well, what we heard in that interview was the rain is starting to fall just a little bit. I am in Justin Allgaier's pit, and the word to him on the radio from his crew chief, Jason Burdett, was, you're going to have to make the call. You're going to have to tell us what you want. They have pushed up a set of wet tires. I'm going to have Michael Erickson, my cameraman, shift down here to the ground. Look at this puddle. That's how much rain is falling right now. It's not a lot, but it's more than what we've had for the last 30, 40 minutes or so. So could get interesting. It could stay pretty dry, but we're just going to have to wait and find out.
So here's where I'm at. It looks like the rain is picking up, and that interview Josh was doing, it looked like a lot of rain was getting ready to come down. If I'm Allmendinger, I think I'm staying out right here because I've got the track position. Hopefully if we can get running and not have a caution, maybe it stays dry. But if I'm one of these guys towards the back, I'm going to take my chances. Maybe come in, put those wet tires on, and hope that it then rains and all those guys are forced to pit or they run off the track. I think if you even look at someone like a Brandon Brown, Jay Buford, they're just outside the top 10. Maybe take a chance.
You know who hates this right now? Anthony Alfredo. He went through 3 restarts on wet tires. The only one. Comes in, puts slicks on. Now the rain's coming back again. He's wishing he had those back on.
And his car got destroyed by the way, too.
Right. Totally.
Hey, we've gone past our time. Not surprising as we are working caution number 8. I feel like our races all year have gone long in the Xfinity races. So if you tuned in for NHRA drag racing from New Hampshire, we'll get you there. You can watch the entire show in its entirety when we're done in Portland with these NASCAR Xfinity Series machines. That is an appropriate piece of video for this stage of the day. We'll step aside. We're going to have inside of 10 laps to go. And I think the drama is just beginning. In fact, before we go to break, pit stops, and among them coming down.
AJ didn't want to hear it from you.
AJ did not listen to me. I'm going to say that they're just looking at a radar and have that information where it's starting to rain too hard and they know how slick it is on the slick tires.
Look at the front stretch. I mean, there's not the difference that we saw earlier. The rain is coming down. This is going right back, and AJ's mad. He was so much better in the dry, and now he's going to go back to those conditions he had trouble on early in the race.
What about it, Josh?
Yeah, and that's exactly what you guys are saying. AJ came over the radio and said it's getting really wet out here. Thought they had to make the change. They decided, yes, let's make the change. Come in and get those wet tires again. Jamie?
Jason Allgaier also made the call. He said everybody behind me was coming. He said, I'm going to come also. He wasn't happy with this car in the dry. He was actually telling his team we need to make some notes in case we come back here next year. He's much happier with the wet weather setup. 4 tires are already on it.
Well, and the only way positions change hands here is if someone stayed on track, right? All these guys that pitted, that they gave up track position to those that maybe would have stayed out, and there might have been a couple, but for everyone you see here, they will go back out and restart where they were running up against the other drivers that pitted, and these are the few drivers that have stayed out. In fact, the only guys I think on the lead lap are Jade Buford and J.J. Yaley, I believe. We'll double check all of this.
You would have to think they're going to pit this next time around, seeing the rest of the field pit, knowing that it's coming down worse. I would have to think that Jade Buford will come the next time around. You can see the tires as they roll around the track, picking up the moisture. I mean, that to me is enough moisture.
Hey, and here's the thing. The reason Jay didn't pit is he was one of those drivers that stayed on the wet weather tires, and I believe is J.J. Yaley on the wets as well. It was hard to tell on that last shot.
He's on the dries, yes. Yeah. Well, Jay Buford stuck with it, Jamie. He kept the cards through all five hands there.
Yeah, the only thing that when we look at that is knowing that he ran the wet tires in the dry, and it was pretty dry a few minutes ago, is just how much of the tire did he use up, because these tires are extremely soft, obviously to make grip for the wet weather conditions, and when you run them in the dry, it doesn't take long to completely wear them out.
We didn't make it through turn 2 very often in the dry conditions, right. So he might be okay.
We'll step aside and we'll reset everything when we come back. What a day in Portland for the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Jade Buford is leading at Portland International Raceway. So good to have you with us on this Saturday afternoon as we've gone past 7 o'clock in the East with Trevor Bain, Jamie McMurray. I'm Adam Alexander. Pit road today being handled by Josh Sims and Jamie Howe. And you think about, big machine racing, and it's their second year as an organization. And they wanted to continue to work to find the sweet spot with their program, so they brought some Cup drivers over. And at Texas, Tyler Reddick goes out. It wasn't an easy win, but boy, when it came down to the wire, he was the car to beat. He gets Scott Borchetta and this team their first win in organization history. And now the guy that kind of got it all started is back behind the wheel, and he's delivering on the road course, Jade Buford.
He is, and he built this relationship with Scott Borchetta through some road racing, and Scott wanted to give him a chance. And he went oval racing. It wasn't really going as they had planned or hoped this season, and they wanted to test things out to see where they were off on speed, if their alliance with RCR was working out. So they got with Tyler Reddick, put him in, found some speed, and I would have to think Jade Buford has a ton more confidence stepping into this 48 car now, knowing it can go out and win, that they've got all the tools, they've got all the pieces, and now today he's got an opportunity to go and redeem himself. After a few weeks off, he gets to battle for a win.
Jamie, you have more on the 48?
Well, it really has been just a building of this program that you've been talking about. Jade Buford made that decision earlier on in the race in conjunction with his crew chief, Patrick Donahue, not to go to the slicks. So he has not driven on the slicks all day today. He's stayed on these wet tires. He's the one that went through all of the restarts, did all of the work when everybody else was out on the slicks. It got him to this point right now. 2 of his 3 top 10s in Xfinity racing have come on a road course. He actually raced here at this track back in 2018 in a sports car series. So he did have some experience. He had something to base it off of. But either way, experience or not, it's a great showing for this number 48 machine.
Look at that car. I mean, just look at that car.
Carnage.
And I'm telling you, the pressure on him for this next restart and these laps, he wants to obviously run as many caution laps as we can. But from his perspective, sitting in the seat, again, we talked about Myatt Snyder and the mistake we thought he might have made because he was worried about A.J. Allmendinger being behind him. Think about Jade Buford and having Allmendinger behind you here. The difference being we're going to be on the wet weather tires, so if you do get into the puddle, it's probably not going to be quite as big of a deal. But he's got to really stay focused right here and think about how am I going to launch? How am I going to do this restart? Where am I going to brake at into turn 1? And what am I going to do with A.J. Allmendinger, who's right behind me?
The guy lined up right beside him, J.J. Yaley, he's on slick tires still. And so if he can find any kind of dry, I would have to imagine he's going to get a better launch down that front stretch. So if I'm Jade Buford, I'm going to get my roll speed up pretty high coming into that restart zone, not to give him any kind of an advantage on launch with those slick tires.
This top 10 is so interesting. And another thing to point out, because there is no choose here, of course, the race leader has the choice of inside, outside on the front row. Other than that, there's no choose rule at a road course. But go back to row 5 and row 6. 9th is Gibbs restarting behind him, and 11th is Gregson. That'll be another hot point to watch on this restart.
One of the things that I don't see, it looked like it was raining really hard just a few minutes ago. I don't see any of the windshield wipers. It looks like it's just barely coming down. Jamie, do you have more on the weather down there?
Well, I'm looking at a puddle down here on pit lane, and I can tell you there is nothing falling from the sky right now. So if J.J. Yaley's still out there on slicks, he may be the one with the advantage. Now, it is a 1.97-mile racetrack, so it may be raining somewhere else, but here on the front side, there's nothing.
So we want wet tires on one end of the track, Adam, and dry on the other is
Yes.
what we're looking for.
Hey, we're going to have 7 laps to go when we get the green flag. And look at the drivers in the top 10. And how many times they've won in their career. Half of them have never picked up a checkered flag, only one for Myatt Snyder. And then there's A.J. Allmendinger, who's won 11 times, 7 on a road course, and Justin Allgaier has 17 victories, 3 of those coming on a road course in the Xfinity Series.
We talked about all these fans earlier and how they came and they sat in the rain. We know why now, because the racing has been incredible. The action that they have got to see, especially where they're sitting right here, down into turn 1. Look at them standing up, getting on their feet. It has been so much fun to watch these cars today.
I feel nervous right now.
I do too.
I always get this
I can't
way.
wait.
J.J. Yaley is going to look like a hero here if it stays a little bit dry, but man, I'm nervous for him. I got to be honest. I feel like he's jumped into the shark pool here a little bit.
Well, and Jade's going to have to obviously protect with Allmendinger, but if I'm Jade, I'm going to run the 66 a little wide. I'm going to get him into where the water is so that he can't use the advantage if there is of those slick tires. It looks to me like the track is still fairly wet. I'm saying I'm still leaning towards the wet tires right now.
Big deal here. Buford is the control car. That makes an enormous difference sitting alongside a guy that's on those dry tires. 7 laps to go in Portland. Jade Buford is the man in charge for this restart. Snyder fanning out. They're 4 wide into turn 1. Allmendinger is there. Landon Castle.
Oh no, Allgaier around. Andy Lally. Ty Gibbs got a piece of that.
Landon
Still
Castle. Castle drives away. Noah Gregson was stopped there as well. And here's the battle for the lead. You have Myatt Snyder, A.J. Allmendinger, side by side through that S's portion of the racetrack.
Well, and because the track has dried out just a little bit, it's not soaking wet. It's almost like the traditional line is a little better. Allmendinger ran wide there in turn 4, and Myatt Snyder was able to pass Allmendinger for the lead.
If you go back, he went to the outside. He went wide left on that restart and was able to funnel down into the top spot.
Jade Buford back here, smoke everywhere, fenders flying, still hanging on to 3rd place right now.
You can see Allmendinger is going to be in a good position right here as they get down into turn 9. You see Maya get loose around that backstretch.
Caution.
Caution number 9. And it's all from the debris in turn 1. Where those cars piled in on the restart.
Oh, it's going to be so interesting to see who was the leader. I'm going to say that was Myatt Snyder will get to be the control car on this next restart.
There's not a clean panel on a race car out here.
I mean, it's a good thing they don't race for 2 weeks. It's going to take a while to fix all these cars.
And keep in mind, this is the first of 4 races in the next 9 on the schedule that will take place on a road course.
Allmendinger was committed on this restart. I was worried, though. I thought this car right behind him, the 10 of Landon Castle, looked like he wasn't going to get slowed down, but you see big carnage there, all those cars piling up.
You're right, Jamie. A.J. Allmendinger took that wet line, and Myatt Snyder just drove it in there on the bottom and took it away.
Well, it might have nothing to lose. A.J. took what he thought was going to be the best line. If you might as well try to make that pass there. And I like being on the inside of somebody right there, because if Maya gets loose here and slides up, it's okay. 8 tires is way better than 4 in that position. You just push Allmendinger off the racetrack. But a good clean pass right there by Myatt Snyder.
Not sure what happened to Myatt earlier with these wet tires on the restart, but all the lettering's gone off this right front here. He needs to make sure there's no tire rub or no tire pressure coming down in that unit.
You know, we said this earlier, but it's worth bringing up again. The road racing experience for Myatt Snyder, because he did a season in the NASCAR Euro Series, tons of road racing experience against some great veterans when it comes to racing on the road, and all of that repetition is huge for a young driver. And you have to also talk about the story of this race team. Jordan Anderson, who's been a journeyman in the Camping World Truck Series, decides last year to come over to the Xfinity Series, and because of their point situation being a new team, qualifying rains out at Daytona, they really had a hard time getting much traction, but they stayed in the game. They signed Myatt to come over, run full-time this year, and now they're seeing it pay off. This is a really good story for Jordan and Myatt, everyone involved with that 31 organization.
Yeah, I mean, for Jordan Anderson to hang on as long as he has and finally starting to build momentum in this series. The last year was you were right, it's a huge breaking point for them to go out there and show what they could do with Tyler Reddick in the car some, and now Myatt Snyder to come over full-time and run this car every week and try to build some momentum. What a good day for him to be out front here.
And by the way, congratulations to Jordan, who a couple of months ago, Easter weekend, got married to the young McReynolds, Kendall, Larry's daughter, Larry and Linda's daughter. So we offer our congratulations there.
I don't know about sitting at the table with Larry Mack eating turkey at Thanksgiving. I'd like to know. I bet you that Larry knows all the stats of how many times the ladle went in the gravy.
He probably
per
does.
hour for that day.
Well, you know, it's funny. Jordan and Kendall were a part of the Better Half Dash that we had as a part of our Race Hub show a couple of weeks ago, raising money for MRO. And if you can survive that as a young married couple, I mean, you're going to be married like 50 years, I think.
That's it. He's a really good kid. Larry, I know, thinks the world of him, and just a good person. Yeah. You see all these guys running wide. They're trying to get these wet weather tires cooled off. I saw Allmendinger do it when we were talking about Myatt Snyder on the front. Jade is pitting because That is called a jalopy right there. That car, that wouldn't even work good at Martinsville, I don't think, Adam.
I hate this for Scott, Borchetta, who watches these races on the edge of his seat. And you know what? Give a lot of credit here to Patrick Donahue, who's helped lay the foundation for this team over the last couple of years. But that one is really beat up today, Jamie.
It is, but this car got them all the way into the top 3. Led at one point in time, and unfortunately, it's just this body damage at the rear. It was sitting on the tire. By their best guess, they're going to leave, going to restart the race in about 22nd place, have to drive up through the field. They're going to just do that because if they got a flat tire, it would just take them out completely. Rough day, though, Josh.
Yeah, not a rough day for Shane. Shane Whitbeck saying it's a stressful day, but Myatt Snyder on top of the board right now. What have you been saying other than it's a stressful day right now?
I mean, these guys at Jordan Anderson and this Chevrolet, just doing a great job today. I'm just telling them to hit his marks and keep doing what he can do. He's a heck of a road racer. I'm just really proud of everybody getting this car together, and hopefully the rain comes a little bit to help cool these tires back down. We have to decide what we're doing, and just everybody's doing a really good job here at Jordan Anderson Racing.
Thanks for your time and good luck the rest of the way.
There were so many questions for these crew chiefs going into today because the weather and what twists and turns that would create. So a lot of stress on all those guys that sit on the pit box.
The answer is yes, Adam. Everything. Anything they ask, yes, it could happen today because it has happened. Jamie and I were just looking here at the running order, and Austin Hill has worked his way all the way back up to 5th after getting himself in a bad spot with taking wets when everybody else went dry and slick and went back down. Brandon Brown in 4th place right here. That's what his car looks like, kind of like Jay Buford's.
Hey, and here's what I would say about him. I know you wouldn't put a lot of money on him right now because of how beat up his car is, but we've seen some crazy stuff on these restarts. He needs a win if he's going to qualify for the playoffs. Won last fall at Talladega. That's the only win of his career. He's hanging in there today, despite the fact that 68 is battered and beat.
Nobody is out of this right now. The turn 1 at this track, with the track being so wide and funneling down to such a narrow area, that nobody is safe. Allmendinger, Myatt Snyder, no one is safe right now. Josh Berry, we talked to him before we got here. He ran terrible at COTA. His expectations coming here were really low. He's in a position he could be the guy to win this race. He won by 16 seconds last week, Adam. Clearly he can win at a road course.
I don't know, Jamie.
I'll let you have that one. I'm just selling it because I got so excited.
You sounded really good, but I don't know.
Hey, his best ever run on a road course was when he was driving that 31 last year at Mid-Ohio, finished top 10. So some synergy there for the guys that are restarting row 1, row 2 on the inside.
I just keep looking for a clean car. And surprisingly enough, A.J. Allmendinger's car looks the best of all of them. And he's been off track 2, 3, 4 times.
12. Yeah,
12.
He's been off track, it seems like every 5 laps.
Restart coming, 4 laps to go. Will this be the restart that decides it in Portland? Myatt Snyder inside lane to his left. A.J. Allmendinger, who's going to win the first ever Xfinity race at Portland International Raceway? We are green once again.
Myatt Snyder got a good jump there. Looks like he's going to have an open entry to get it into turn 1.
Yeah, and he made a big commitment to make sure that he gets inside AJ. It's going to be interesting to see what AJ, able to get it straight up. It's going to be interesting to see what AJ does when we get over here into the slower section and what line Myatt chooses to run. You see AJ's doing the exact same thing. Oh, a little bit of contact, not too bad.
AJ muscled him. Can he make the pass?
Yeah, he's in the best position, I think, being on the inside. But this turn is critical, this turn 7, because that's what sets you up for that run down the backstretch. We've seen a lot of passes into turn 9.
I'm really surprised that Myatt left that line open for AJ, knowing that's how he got the lead the first time. We see AJ being really protective to the inside there, into the wet.
Super defensive line by AJ right there, either trying to cool his tires or just thought that's where the most grip was going to be. And you see, though, he got a great launch off turn 7. It doesn't look like Myatt's going to be able to challenge him into this final turn 10.
It was like AJ said, let him go and get the lead on the restart from the preferred inside lane, and then I'll run him down. And that's exactly what AJ's been able to do here.
I'll be honest, Myatt Snyder's doing a great job keeping up with AJ here. You would think once AJ gets to the lead, he just checks out, but Myatt hangs with him. AJ was aggressive getting that lead there.
Great racing. I mean, AJ, he got into it, but they're just racing hard. Didn't wipe him out, didn't shove him off the racetrack. And I agree. I mean, Myatt Snyder's doing a great job just hanging with him.
3 laps to go.
a lot of times when we see people pull out like that on the straightaway, they're trying to break the air. You know, you watch the Indianapolis 500 or a race like that, but right now AJ needs to keep these tires cool. I think the track is actually drying up more and quicker than they expected during this run.
So Austin Hill get by Josh Berry. That was for third. He's in that 21 for Richard Childress Racing. Hill was second earlier this season on the road course in Austin, Texas. Look at J.J. Yaley back there in the 6th position.
That's those slick tires hanging
indeed.
on. Might come back to life here if this thing keeps drying out.
Ty Gibbs has worked his way up to 7th. Junior Motorsports, 3 cars in the top 10 today. A.J. Allmendinger had to go to the back, told us that after he qualified 10th yesterday. Said we had to make a bunch of changes to this car. They made him. He was off track multiple times, went a lap down. I mean, they just could not find it. But once he did, he has rallied back to the front, and now he'll be leading this thing with 2 laps to go.
Yeah, and AJ's using a lot more track, as we saw through turns 10, 11, 12, than what Myatt was behind him. And it looks like he's actually a little bit slower in that section of the racetrack. You see Myatt braking, getting a little bit loose on the entry there, getting all they can out of it. But man, the car that I've got my eye on is the 21. Austin Hill has come. He's got a little bit fresher tires than what the 2 in front of him do, and he's been one of the quickest cars on the track in the last 2 laps that we've got to run green.
The fact that he went to the rear in the midst of all that chaos and came out the other side and is working his way back to 3rd is so impressive. He's done a great job all day. From start to finish, he's been in the top 3. You know, him and Sheldon Creed were up there early on. Sheldon got crashed. Ty Gibbs was in front of him. He got crashed. Now, Austin has been one of the only drivers to be in the top 3 or top 5 the majority of the day.
Hey, Ryan Sieg was top 10 on the restart and in position to have a really good day after back-to-back DNFs, but he has fallen outside the top 10, so they obviously had a problem.
See a little wheel hop there from J.J. Yaley as Ty Gibbs looks to get that position away.
Coming back to the white flag. And that's what AJ wants, because he knows once he gets the white flag, the next flag will end it here in Portland. And this is a great race for 6th.
He better get there in a hurry, because these guys are all trying to wreck right now. J.J. Yaley trying to hold off Gibbs and Allgaier.
Gibbs a little 2 for 1 there. Goes from 8th to 6th. Here comes AJ. 1 lap remaining in Portland. Sponsored by Credit One Bank.
Guys, if I saw this rundown at the end of the race, I'd believe it. It looks pretty good. AJ Allmendinger, maybe Myatt Snyder's a surprise, but how we got here has been incredible. This has been the wildest race I've watched in a long time.
I can't wait to hear AJ's comments when he gets out of this car, because he has had such an up and down day. We talked about it multiple times off the track, and I got lapped at one point in the race. Ty Gibbs lapped AJ Allmendinger, who's leading this race right now. But you know what? Never give up, and we know how good, Adam, that he is on tracks just like this.
Is that what you were saying at the beginning of the show?
I told you guys.
Yeah,
I did. I've told you guys numerous times.
We had it from the beginning.
Allmendinger was the guy.
I won't say I wrote him off, but early on I had some major concerns about this 16.
Myatt Snyder's still right there, y'all. He's a second back. I mean, AJ's got to stay on his game to the finish here.
And it looks like the rain has picked up just a little bit on that section of the racetrack. You see it got a little bit dark. The cars are starting to slide around just a little bit more. When you're the leader, you're trying to be a little bit conservative. Myatt Snyder, though, has nothing to lose. Obviously, he wants to have a good points day, but it's really all about winning.
Well, this second place might feel like a win for this team today. This is a big turnaround for them.
Incredible ride for the 16 through turns 10, 11, and 12 for the final time. The Dinger has done it again. From the back to the front, A.J. Allmendinger wins the first Xfinity race at Portland International Raceway.
What a day.
Yeah, no kidding, what a day. Long day for all these guys.
That's 12 career wins, 8 now on road courses.
It's going to be over 10% now.
It is.
Win rate is.
He's won 8 of 70 all time in the NASCAR Xfinity Series on the road. He was already the all-time leader in that category. His last win coming earlier this season on the road course in Austin, Texas. Of course, as we told you earlier, he won a kart race here in 2006. when he won that, it was the first of 3 in a row. Perhaps number 16 going to get on a summertime heater in the Xfinity Series.
Think about all the road courses we have coming up. He's obviously won both of the road courses this year. And Trevor, I'm with you. Like, when you look at him winning, you're like, yeah, it was a given. But the day that he had to get to that point, it's unbelievable to see that 16 car in victory lane today, knowing what he's been through.
It's the second time he's won an inaugural race. He also won the first race at Mid-Ohio back in 2013, driving at that time for the captain, Roger Penske. He is, in fact, the king of the road. A.J. Allmendinger. We said it, 8 career wins on road courses. You see the stage wins and all those top 5 finishes, and this is what happened to him starting at the back of the field off track before we even saw the green.
Yeah, I mean, he's just trying to get caught up to the field right here. Runs off in turn 12. This is in turn 5. We see he just drops the tire off, slides off the track again.
Lap 63, this is action in the final stage. He had become a player. In fact, he goes to the point on this restart. How about the fact he only led 6 laps all day long?
Well, this is how he got the lead for the final time. Drove it in on the bottom, took the lead away from Maya Snyder, and checked out.
Fans love him. Look at him going crazy up there. What a great race they got to have today, and to see everything that happened in that particular section of the racetrack. A couple of donuts for all the people in that area.
Pretty easy to do donuts in the water, I'd imagine.
16th win all time for Matt Collig and Collig Racing. And 6 of those wins have come on road courses. This is a team that dominates at the speedways, super speedways, and also when we hit the road.
And now they get 2 weeks to celebrate. They're going to be celebrating this whole time. Everybody else is trying to cool down from all the craziness that we had, all the controversy. I know a lot of them were mad. Sheldon Creed, we saw that, but A.J. Allmendinger's getting out as a winner.
And he can't celebrate till
Not
Monday.
too much. He's got work to do tomorrow.
Ooh, yeah, flying over to Gateway later tonight.
I love his emotion, too. I mean, it never gets old for him.
Think about 24 hours ago, we're watching qualifying, how frustrated he was when he got out of his car. He knew there was something wrong with it. That team right there worked on all night. You said 31 changes they made to that 16 car to get it to where it needed to be today, and now they're in victory lane.
Matt Collig's there, the owner of Collig Racing. Worked so hard, started this team with Blake Cook driving the car, and then over the years they've just gotten better and better. AJ has been an anchor to that program to help them get these wins that they've had lately. I'm sure they're going to enjoy this flight over to Gateway later on to watch their Cup car on track.
Hey, they won a Cup race last year, and it was AJ who got it done in Indianapolis. Let's hear from the victor. Down to Josh.
A.J. Allmendinger, you said you made more than 30 changes to this car, just about every change except the motor before this one. You start the race in the back, you have problems all day, work your way through the field, and you get the victory. How do you describe this win?
Oh, my God. All the men and women at Collig Racing deserve that. I was awful. I cannot believe I crashed before we went green. I was off the racetrack, I think, 4 times. Made all kinds of mistakes, was all over the place. But it's, oh, sorry, we got to go race again tomorrow. But just proud of everybody on this Nutrien Ag Solutions Chevy. I was melting down in the car, honestly. I making so many mistakes, trying so hard. I put so much pressure on myself at these races because I know what everybody expects. I know what I expect out of myself, more importantly. But it's, God, what a win. It might be one of the craziest wins I've ever had. Most mistakes ever to win a race for sure. But all the fans of Portland for staying out here. This place is packed. 16 years ago, I won this month my first Champ Car race, and it's surreal that I still get to do this. And thanks to Matt Collig, Chris Rice, all the men and women for allowing me this. Baby, I love you. Mom, my dad's here. He was here on Father's Day for my first win. So just you know what? And more importantly, can't thank ECR and RCR, everybody enough, because this thing was having so many problems yesterday engine-wise. They changed everything but the motor, fixed it, and I was the only issue in the car today.
AJ, can you break down for me the pass for the lead?
Yeah, Maya was doing an amazing job. He was really good in the wet. I got under him. We touched there. In these conditions, I knew if I get to the lead, I could kind of dictate it. So I was fighting hard there, but Maya did a great job. He's always fast on these road courses. So fun racing, just insanity. But thank everybody at Chevy that allows us to do this. Xfinity for allowing us to do this. What a cool race. And Sparko, everybody, just everybody that's on this race car. So thank you, everybody.
Thanks and congratulations, AJ. You got a flight to catch to St. Louis for the Cup race. Jamie, who you got?
Well, Myatt Snyder was also watching that replay of the lap that happened with 4 laps to go. It was the pass that made the difference. You said to your team you guys were really evenly matched. What was the difference out there?
I think just AJ's experience. I could tell he was setting up those exits better than I was. I mean, but everywhere else we were neck and neck. And so, you know, to me, that's good hard racing. It's not like he dumped me for no reason or spun me out or anything. He just got into me a little bit. I mean, all those restarts were extremely rough. So for him just to kind of rub my door a little bit, I mean, that's racing to me. And you know, that's what this Xfinity Series is all about. And it's so cool to be disappointed with second, you know, with a team that's only a year and a half old, and to get a stage win. You know, it's the first stage win, probably maybe first top 3 with this car. So yeah, just can't say enough about the boys from Jordan Anderson Racing, Shane Whitbeck, Shane Martin from Chevrolet, Treetop Applesauce, Dax Lair, all my partners. It's a great day to be disappointed with second, but still disappointed.
A lot of positives to take away. Thank you.
No doubt a lot to celebrate for Myatt Snyder, Jordan Anderson, and everyone involved. How about that? That is outstanding.
That's so cool right there.
Man.
I've spent a lot of time with AJ and his dad at the kart track. That's so cool to see him there and getting to enjoy that. What a proud moment for him.
AJ was in disbelief, if I'm being honest, in that interview. He's like, I don't know how I got here.
We look at the playoffs leaderboard as we begin the second half of the regular season, and now we have 4 drivers with multiple victories. Gibbs leads the way with 3, but AJ joins Josh Berry and Noah Gregson as drivers that have now won twice.
Yeah, and Ryan Seat gains 10 more points on that. That's the cutoff spot. Sheldon Creed had those issues today. It looked like he was going to be able to capitalize on that.
Big missed opportunity for Sheldon Creed, who went from 59 out to 73 out, and you felt like they had a really good car today.
And Anthony Alfredo, what started out to look like a great day starting on the pole, ended up crashed in one of those late race wrecks after being on wet tires when everyone else was on dry. Not the day he needed.
Cup coverage tomorrow, race day at 2. We're racing at 3:30. First time we're going Cup racing in St. Louis. This was the final Xfinity broadcast of the year on Fox or FS1, so we thank NASCAR and all of our fine production staff who made it a fun first half of the 2022 campaign. First visit to Portland, boy, it was worth the wait to the end. It's AJ Allmendinger who pulls off a huge comeback. Congratulations to him. Thank you for watching. It's time for the NHRA on FS1.
We are the ones at the top of the mountain, climb tight in the buckle. One with the right crowd that likes to rumble. Hold a nice crown, it's hard to be humble. We welcome you now to our arena. If you don't know by now, it's hard to beat us. You can tell by our demeanor how hard we leaning. Leave a lasting impression on who is the best, and there won't be a question. You will remember our name when you see it in lights. We are the champions. We are the champions. We will fight through the pain. We'll be legends tonight. We are the champions. We are the champions.
This copyrighted telecast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of NASCAR Broadcasting. NASCAR would like to thank all of our fans for your support, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.